All right, everybody, it's time for you to get out and nominate for your favorite podcast. There are 4 amazing shows I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards, the longest running premier awards event in the podcasting space, open to shows worldwide. You can vote at podcastawards.com and nominate the following shows: Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast in the categories of education and storyteller drama. This show is based on the world-famous Writers of the Future contest created in 1983 by L. Ron Hubbard and provides writing tips and art advice from contest judges, winners, and industry professionals for writers and artists wanting to take their next step, along with the needed inspiration to keep on going. Next one, The Centralist in the category of politics and news. The Centralist is a much different news and political program. It is not opinion news, it's just the facts so you, the people, can make up your own minds on the different stories reported on. Listen as Joe Montaldo brings to you just the facts from trusted sources. Science and Beyond in the category of science and medicine. Science and Beyond is a true science-based program that explores every aspect of science, from how things work to why we need science. And where science can't explain something, we go beyond to see if we can figure it out on our own, how something works. The Outer Realm in the category of society culture. The Outer Realm is a very popular show hosted by Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, with guests who are well-versed within their respective fields of ufology, paranormal, cryptozoology, and anything else that would be deemed otherworldly. Nothing is off limits in the Outer Realm. Michelle is an international public figure and has spent the last 18 years working in the paranormal. Her co-host Amelia is a remote viewing medium with 9 years experience working in missing children and cold and active murder cases. So go to podcastawards.com to vote for these 4 shows and any others you enjoy listening to. That's podcastawards.com.
Okay, that was weird. That was Emily Goodwin, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. She is so sweet to do that for us. We're going to have a new one coming up, too. Who's in the green one? What? I hate this thing. I never can see at the bottom down here. Oh, that's why it's Lori. I couldn't see her down. Oh, wait, did I put her in? I took her out. I took her out. Sorry.
I'll be on.
I'm not exactly sure what's going on in here. It's kind of weird. I'm going to another StreamYard meeting, by the way, before we intro this show. And if anybody's got any things y'all would like to see, it's a business version tomorrow we're going to be discussing. Last time they tricked me into coming to 2 little girls talking for 2 hours, like to put me night-night. Well, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say 2 of them. They're Z-Gen maybe millennials if they're lucky. But I'm a 50-year-old businessman. I need somebody who knows how to talk to me, not talk like little babies. I'm sorry, but anyway, tonight we're going to be doing all kind of interesting stuff. I'm going to let Michelle introduce us because my brain's fried. Michelle, she does it every Saturday. So now you're doing it.
All right, here we go. Welcome to Paranormal Talk. We are broadcasting live here via International Public Radio on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM and 105.3 FM in the beautiful city of New Orleans. I myself am Michelle DeRoche from the Outer Realm every Wednesday and Thursday evening, 8 to 10 Central, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Moving on along to the next.
Mickey, you up, baby?
Michael Angley. Discovery Paranormal every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, of course. And Red Pill News, ever popular. Take the red pill every Thursday at 8 p.m. And, of course, Mondays we're here, Wednesdays we're there, and Fridays we're somewhere. So people can always find us, one of us, every day, somewhere.
Laura, you up, baby?
Okay, hi everybody. I'll be on camera very shortly. I'm Lori Potvin. I am the host of the Angel Rock and a new podcast coming very shortly on Saturdays. This evening, you want to tune in. I had an explosive guest last week, Dr. Rima Labo. I was having her co-host on tonight, and she is free. So we are going to have one heck of a show. So I hope you guys join me. I'm glad to be here.
Dale, you up, baby?
Hello, it's Del from The Delicious Recipe, Tuesday nights at 9 p.m., where we just throw any topics into the pot, and we see how they taste at the end.
That sounds interesting. Guys, I'm here pretty much Monday through Friday. Just Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm not on air. The rest of the time, I'm doing something crazy, something insane. Like I'm lucky Michelle even lets me on Wednesdays. I'm telling y'all just don't understand. She bullets me all the time, man. And y'all think Amelia's all sweet and innocent. She's like, oh my God. Plus, she drives me crazy with pizza pictures. I don't know what to do with her.
You asked for those, I'm sure.
I had to eat a pizza today just because all them damn pizza pictures she sent. I had to go make one. Y'all think I'm kidding, people. I'm not kidding. She spams the hell out of me with pizzas. But I got even with it. I put a muffalata on yesterday or day before yesterday.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was a good-looking muffalata, too. By the way, might as well plug them at Central Grocery down in New Orleans. They've been there for 114 years, since 1906. They've been making muffalatas. They started out, everything there is Italian, everything's imported, but it's funny. One of their name things before the muffalata was they used to give out loaves of French bread soaked in roast beef debris gravy for 1 nickel, whole loaf of bread soaked in gravy, and that's what the people building the canals used to eat along the city. So it's amazing to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, French bread and debris gravy is good, but I mean, as a sandwich, it's lacking to say the least. But hey, they eat that and French fried po' boys. They used to sell a lot of.
We do French dips here.
Yeah.
So roast beef and Swiss, and you dip it in the broth.
Now, this is all they did was they sliced the bread in half and pour some gravy down it and sell it to everybody. Well, I mean, it was a nickel. You can't really bitch for a nickel.
Gravy can be really good, though. I'd have to try it, man.
Roast beef debris gravy down here is really good. It just depends who's making it.
I'm sure it's freaking great. It's not like you get it with a spoon.
Some are really good. Some are okay. Some are better than okay. It just depends where you are. But it's an interesting city. We're going to be I got a show coming up in September. We're going to be doing a kind of an overview of the city, what goes on in the city, what you can find in the city, what's good for adults. By the way, before anybody even asks me this, New Orleans is not a good city to bring children to. I'm just going to be upfront to you.
Hookers and black magic. That's kind of
there's a lot of that.
That's what I think of.
But yeah,
and
lots
boys.
of booze and lots of booze
yeah.
and lots of booze. But
lots of booze.
It's not now Metairie, Jefferson Parish. You bring your kids in. Like Mardi Gras, we have 2 Mardi Gras down here. We have New Orleans Mardi Gras, which is pretty much adult only. I mean, unless you want your kids growing up in pictures of boobs and other things we're not going to mention on air, don't bring them to New Orleans.
Like
but
what?
Jefferson Parish, you don't want to know. Jefferson Parish, on the other hand, they're pretty laid back. There's not too much going on. It's big crowds and lots of fun, but it's lots of kids. So the kids can have fun. They can talk to other kids. Everybody can have fun, and it's more wholesome is all I can say.
Well, that's Canal Street, right? I mean,
no, that's not Canal Street. Canal Street is naked people.
Yeah.
When the Zulu come down, the Zulu got them coconuts. They can't throw them anymore because apparently they've knocked out a few people over the years, but they got a hand in the coconut.
Why would I pay to watch something like that?
Let me tell you what, it's worth paying for. I'm telling you, these people are
interesting.
No, one time I was taking a kid.
Enjoy yourself.
One time on Long Island, I was taking the kids to the aquarium, right? And I didn't call ahead. Brooklyn Aquarium, it's always open. So we go there. We're stuck in heavy traffic. They were having the mermaid parade. So it's all basically people naked, and they paint themselves up. The kids were like 5 and 7 at this point, like looking out the window like, what the heck? And we were stuck in that traffic for like 2.5 hours. So they definitely got an eye full. There were people full on nude walking around.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I get it, man.
Oh, I remember the first time I went down Bourbon, I was 7, and I asked my dad, I said, why is that woman's leg swinging out the top of the building like that? What did I know? I was 7. Come on, I didn't know what the hell was going on.
How many beads did you get that day there, Joe?
You get a lot anyway. And it's crazy down there. People, it's just a crazy place. In the old days, they didn't grease the poles. Now they grease the poles. So if your ass tries to climb up a pole, you're going to bust your ass every time. But in the old days, they didn't. So people climb up on top of poles, get naked. I remember one year this girl dressed up as a nurse and then stripped on the balcony. And the cops tried to get to her, but there were so many people in the way they could never get to her. They tried like hell to get to her. She's stark naked. And the cops are screaming at her, and then the crowd kind of closed in around her so they couldn't get her and got her dressed again and sent her on her way. It was insane. But that's the city. I mean, the city's a lot of fun, but it is adult entertainment. It really is. But while we're on that, it also is a really good place to go ghost hunt or other hunting things. There's a vampire cult down there, which there's actually 3 of them, but there's one I like that really people are really nice. They're a lot of fun to hang out with. They party hard, but they're definitely vampires. So at midnight, every night, they all get their little glass of blood out and drink their glass of blood. As far as I know, they're not real vampires. They're all wearing them damn fake ass teeth and stuff. And everybody's dressed in really nice clothes. I mean, the guys are decked, the girls are decked, and so they were upscale vampires, I guess is what you call them.
Are there any vegetarian vampires, Joe?
No. Unless
Just
you're going to call
curious.
blood, man.
I would think that that's like a Muslim who smokes pot. Like
Yeah.
there's somebody who goes
I
veers
know
off.
some
and
Muslims that smoke
They
pot.
drink some like V8 juice and they kind of
Actually,
say,
all the Muslims that don't smoke pot, they smoke hash. But anyway, we'll leave that alone. But it's a great place to go. So if you're down there, if you're even a little bit remotely psychic, and I tell this to everybody, if you're a little psychic, especially if you've been drinking, earlier in the night and you're walking around the quarter, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, anywhere from about 1 a.m. till about 4 a.m., the city is just steep. You can feel everything. And you'll see people out there just freaking out like something's walking behind them or something touches them. There's certain places you'll walk through. Definitely something's going to touch you while you're walking through there. I tell people just keep on walking. Because you never know what it is. I mean, there's a lot of playful spirits down there, but there are a lot of hardcore, nasty things in the city. People that have died, people that hung, people that had arms or limbs or other things cut off. The favorite thing in the old days was whatever your crime was, that was the body part that got cut off. So if you were sleeping with somebody's wife, guess what? So it was just the way the city ruled itself at the time. And there was a lot of duels in the city. Most of the duels happened in City Park or out in the City Park in Duel Oaks, but still there was areas in the city along the river where people used to go to duel. They didn't have these big levees back then, so people get out there and start dueling, and either with swords or guns, whatever your favorite weapon of choice was. So there's just lots of haunted places out there. There's not a building in the city that at least a dozen people haven't died in. I mean, all the buildings are 200-300 years old. So all of them are steeped in this. And, I'm sitting in, I remember this, we're sitting in Pat O'Brien's one night. Well, Pat has got 5 bars in it, so it's hard to picture without being there. But they got a garden bar outside, and it's got this big water fountain, and there's big flames that come out of it, that roll through the water. Really nice place, especially in wintertime. You get up close to the flame and chill. So we're sitting out there. It's about 3:30 in the morning. And I was drinking a 57 Chevy with stolen plates. And a friend of mine starts tapping when he shows. I'm like, what, man? Leave me alone. I'm trying to drink. And he keeps bugging. I'm actually looking at these 2 girls in the other bar. And he's Joe. He says, look at this girl over here. It's like, what? I look over and I'm like, what the? So I see this girl and I look. It took me a minute because she looks like she's in old gowns from like 1800s, maybe 1780, 1800, somewhere around in big flowing gowns. And I'm like, wow, is this chick freaking out? And then I guess the booze laid off a little bit. And I looked and I could see the chair behind her. So she was in front of the chair, but I could see the chair behind her. And I realized, I'm like, shit, is this drink really this good? I'm thinking, wait a minute.
through.
So I get up, I
Bleed
set the drink down, I get up, I walk over there, and I'm like, start talking to her. My friend's looking at me like, Joe, you're losing your mind. So
Aliens.
these 2 girls and this other guy come up, paranormal investigators, by the way, don't know who the hell they were, still don't to this day don't know who they were. Come up behind me, a little older than I am. I was in my mid-20s, maybe late 20s at the time. And they start talking to her too. So we're having a 4-way conversation with this chick. She's just like answering questions, and we're like, so then I go sit back down. I said, no, I was hallucinating that whole thing. There's no way I was talking to a ghost in the French Quarter at 3 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So then the guy comes over. He said, man, I want your name. He said, I want to call. He said, I need a witness to this. He said, I got my 2 friends, but they work for us. He said, I needed a witness outside this. Can I get y'all's 2 names since y'all actually participated in contacting this ghost? I just looked at him. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll give you my name. I don't know what name I gave him, by the way. I didn't give him my real name. I didn't. I don't know why I did. But I gave him my friend's real name. So if he wanted to get in contact, we never heard back from him. But,
that's good.
It was creepy, but it was. How can I say this? It was.
I didn't like it paranormal. You didn't believe in it, Joe.
Well, no, it's not that I didn't believe in it. It's just.
Bleed through.
It's just, it might be bleed through.
Bleed through from
I
Mars.
mean, I'm like, at this point, I'm probably 5 or 6 White Russians, 3 or 4 hurricanes, and at least 3 of these.
Bleed through from Uranus.
And it might have been. And then I had just drinking a mint julep earlier. Mint julep is just ice.
I love a mint julep.
And 190. That's all it is. So
you know what? From now on, if we announce a drink, we have to tell people what's in it.
Yeah, we should actually. And it was just crazy, the whole time. Even when I got home later that night, I was telling somebody about it, and I'm like, nah. I said, maybe it's a weed we were smoking. I said, I'm not sure what the hell it was. And I just for some reason, I just wouldn't let myself acknowledge that I was talking to a ghost. A
gallon of alcohol and some weed, and yeah, I think you're going to see some
stuff. One of my bitch points is about people when they call me all loaded up that they saw a UFO, they saw this or saw that. I'm like, are you sure that's what you saw? And I'm not hating. I know you can still have some cognitive abilities around you when you're loaded, but this night for some reason, and I've been to Pato as many times, and I've never seen a ghost there before.
But do you think, you guys, everybody on the panel, do you think if someone's loaded that can bring them to a certain state of mind of relaxedness, where they can let things in that they wouldn't normally let things in. Maybe they open up their third eye more.
I think your natural energy shield is lowered. We know that people that are alcoholics or use drugs regularly can be more prone to paranormal activity, to negative attachments, to things like that. So I think it's a little bit of what you said, Michael, just my thoughts, and the fact that your defenses, for lack of a better word, weren't at their usual because you were impaired.
Good day. I do agree that you can, I guess, be more open when you're loaded. But
I want to hear what Michelle and Del think.
Look at ayahuasca. Look at magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been doing this for thousands of years. Just relaxes you. It opens you up more. Just two examples.
I ain't never
Not
done
to
no
just the
mushroom.
alcohol. Just saying.
Dale, you've been doing them mushrooms, man.
Yeah, Dal, what do you think? Tell us about the shrooms.
Just button mushrooms and some coffee.
Hey, I like some good button mushrooms. Ain't nothing wrong with button mushrooms. Like I say, they're good stuff, especially when they soaked in good steak juice or something.
Yeah.
Red wine and garlic.
Yeah, that works.
Butter.
That works.
Lots of butter.
Yeah, butter always helps. What was that? I've seen ghosts in New Orleans. Everybody's seen ghosts in New Orleans. Don't take this the wrong way, but if you spend any real time in New Orleans, you're going to see some weird shit down there. I've seen, like, they call them the dueling sisters. They're in antebellum clothes, just going down the streets. Must be loaded out of their mind, swinging each other around as they're going down the streets. I can't tell you how many people have seen them. And you see it. The weird part is, a good friend of mine, Jeff, was standing there, and they just like went through him. He freaked out for 3 days. He said he could feel, and you know what? You could smell the perfume on him afterwards. I was like, "What are you putting girly perfume?" He said, "Chump, tell you it's the damn ghost." I'm like, "Dude, you're crazy." And but you could really smell the perfume hardcore on him.
You know what I was talking about, you, Joe, about that the rumor you said in the quarter. I think that guy that has that restaurant and there's pictures up all along the wall and he never ages. You said you don't know if he's a vampire. You said
it's actually in Anne Rice's first book. She talks about it in her first book. Yeah, and she's serious about it because and it is weird. You see him, like today, he dressed like I am. Yeah, it's Antoine's. So you see him like dressed like I am right now, and then the next guy, he's wearing these outfits, but the face and the face, the beard, the eyes are pretty much the same. And it's creepy when you walk by. And it's not if you don't know the history, but if you know the history, you start looking and staring, and then it kind of even feels like they're staring at your ass when you walk into the restaurant. And I know a good friend of mine asked him one time. He was actually in there. He was the grandfather was in there one night, and he asked him. He said, "Are you a vampire?" He said, "If I told you that, I'd have to bite you, wouldn't I?"
What would you say, Joe, would be the? Okay, this is a question that comes up. Like this, I always think about this when people come to new towns or big towns, and there's a lot of stuff, a lot of action that goes on in New Orleans. You have you have a lot of grifters down there, people that do nefarious things. I remember hearing this thing about this game called the Razzle Dazzle, which is basically like the pull around the best thing to do is if you're going to come to a new big town like New Orleans that has a lot of different stuff going on, that you should get like a friend or somebody that's very acquainted with the place to show them around.
I agree. I always tell everybody this, and when I travel, like when I'm out in LA, I'm going to be with locals. When I travel anywhere in this country, if I travel anywhere, like if I was up in Canada, I'd want to be with a local because one, locals know where the good spots are to start off with, not the touristies. Because let me put it this way: so if you get off the boat or the airplane, you go downtown New Orleans. If you're eating anywhere along the river, the food's going to be good, but you're getting ripped off both in price and in quality. Now, if you go to the Marigny or inside the quarter, the food's going to be much better. Might still be the same price, but the food's going to be much, much better, and you're going to enjoy it immensely. But they got these spots that are just rip-off spots, and of course, you got to watch all the people. Everybody's got a scam. They got a lot of roadside musicians, which, I do like a lot of them. Like one night, I was pissed drunk out of my mind, and this guy, he's playing a guitar. I said, "You know how to play Freebird?" He said, "Yeah, I tipped him $100, so he played Freebird." And we had a good time. And she went and had a good time, I'm sure, afterwards. But he was worth it. But they got a lot of people, I can guess your shoe size or how tall you are, this other bullshit, or where you got your – I love the one. I can tell you where you got your shoes from. Yeah, on my damn feet. You already know what it's going to be, but it's just a scam. They're betting you money, and then you kind of feel like an idiot when they give you the answer, So, and then you got to watch the religious freaks, like the guys walking down with the big crosses and stuff. You'd be surprised how emotional those guys get on you, man. They get crazy. Then you got to watch like the Hare Krishnas and what is that the ones with whichever the ones that are wearing the outfits with the whatever you call the things, the tambourines. Oh my God, man. They will scam you and rip you off, boom, like that. And you think these are all religious good people. So it's just, there's a lot of it. I tell people just be careful, find a local. If you don't know a local, they have local guides. Or you can find local stuff that's posted where locals have reviewed stuff. Just look at the reviews. Don't look at the reviews from tourists. Look at the reviews from locals, and you'll know where to go. It's like Central Grocery. If you don't know it's there, you're going to walk right past it. If you know it's there, you're going to go in. You're going to get a good box root beer. You're going to get a nice muffalade or a nice po' boy food. It's going to be really good. They sell a lot of other good stuff there that you can take home with you. You'll enjoy the experience, and they don't rip you off. I mean, the muffs are a little high. I mean, I think I bought two the other day. It was $40 for two of them, which if I ship them, they're $100 for two of them. But it's well worth them. I mean, Lynn and I eat on one. It takes us 2 days to eat one of them. So, you can reheat them, show them. They're just a good experience. And the way the meat's all basically packaged and all, I mean, the way the meat's made, you can leave it out on your counter. It won't even get you sick, which is just a nice plus. And there's lots of other local spots that you want to go. But a lot of times guys will ask me where the strip joints, Well, Bourbon Street, dude. You're going to strip joints. I said, now, if you don't want to get ripped off, go out to the suburbs and you won't get ripped off. I said, but if you go in New Orleans, be careful. They will slip Mickeys in your drinks and stuff like that, and then they might ghost you afterwards. On that, though, that's a good side segue note. There's a guy I was working for, him, kind of a friend of ours. He owned a strip joint on the strip right there on Bourbon. Well, and inside of the place, it had 40 apartments inside of it, 2 stories, 20 on the bottom, 20 on the top. You can't see him outside. So we was in his room setting cameras up. He had, we'd already set all the cameras, but we were setting up the TV screens because back in the old days, you had to have a screen for each camera. So he actually had 40 screens and he had 20 of them. He had a circle bed that swung around, moved around and stuff. So he could just turn the bed and see all his cameras, see what's going, be flipping, seeing which one was where and where was who. And he had it where you could see the girls coming in and out of their apartment, so he knew who was coming out. He wanted to make sure they wasn't bringing customers into their apartments with him. That was a big no-no for him. He didn't care if they hookered, they just couldn't do it in his establishment. And so he wanted to see all of that. Well, from time to time, we'd be over there working on the cameras, or he'd call me and say, Joe, you call me like 2 o'clock in the morning, man, my cameras are all glitching. I get out there, I'm like, so I'm looking at things, nothing's wrong. Anyway, and all of a sudden, you see like a glyph or something just moving across through a corner or moving downstairs. And it always looked like something that was like sweeping, not like it was walking, but like it was, or it was creepy, weird. It always looked like a mist or a cloud. I have no idea what it was. I did tell a good friend of mine who had an investigation group down there about it, and I know he investigated it several times. They came up with some woman, these 3 women who were raped and killed in the place, and just kept. They never left. They couldn't get them out. They tried to get the place. They had several people go down there and try to get the place cleansed so they would leave, but they would never seem to leave for anybody. They would just come hang around and I know a couple of girls said they would come in their rooms, they'd leave screaming. He's got one of them. She's stark naked running down the breezeway, right, trying to get to the front of the place. And you could see whatever was behind her. You couldn't make it out. It just looked like it. I don't want to say it looked like a cloud because it had more shape than a cloud, but it was maybe a rectangular shaped cloud, 5 foot tall or something. It was definitely keeping pace with or whatever it was. But back then, I got to be honest. I mean, I was into the UFO stuff, but the ghosty stuff wasn't my cup of tea. I had a lot of friends in the field, and even today, I defer to a lot of people on the station and a lot of people I've met over the years when it comes to the paranormal stuff. And I might harass Michelle or any of y'all, Mike, anybody about something paranormal if it comes in. But you're going to see stuff. I mean, especially if you got a little buzz, you're going to see stuff down in it. And I'll tell y'all, you can go walk around Jackson Square and around the cathedral, St. Louis Cathedral, and you're going to see something. You'll see several things. And what creeps you out is when you see. Because there'll be a lot of, like after midnight, the tarot readers, they come out about 8 o'clock, but they like to read like from midnight to 2 or 3 a.m. So every now and then you'll be sitting there, sipping on your drink, and you'll see a ghost come in and sit down with the tarot reader, not in front, but on her. Like it just sits into her. And then you just see her start tossing cards. Like, you kind of like, what? We've tried to get it on video a couple of times. I've never been any luck getting it on video. Got a weird camera shot though. Go ahead.
Would you say there? Okay, this might be a 2-part question there because you're familiar with that place down there. Would you say that is New Orleans like up there in the murder capital of the U.S.? And would you say that New Orleans would have more ritualistic murders that would cause more sort of paranormal activity? Like I know New York State had a lot with gang wars and old country people coming over fighting for territory, but you had a little bit more of a melting pot. You had Cajuns, you had Haitians, you had people from the Caribbean coming up, bringing in different stuff. Would you say that they more, like I say, ritualistic, more?
Well, you did from
like
like 1650 up until like 1900, because there was a lot of weird cults out there, and then you had people like Marie Laveau running around, and she, for some reason, she's the one that stands out. But there were lots of people like her. She wasn't the only one. If she was the only one, she'd have been hung and murdered a long time ago. Because it was weird. Because a lot of states in the Union back then, what Marie was doing was definitely a hangable offense. Even down here, it was. But for some reason, she was accepted. But the reason she was is there was lots of what they call table rappers, readers, and stuff like that. Lots of teacup readings going on. Matter of fact, the bottom of teacup I think is 140 years old. It's still there. Actually, when I was real young, I read cards there for a while. And you'd be surprised how many famous people show up at this place. Even today, you walk in there, there'll be people you just like, what? It just catches you off guard. They're in there because they're really good at what they do, and they've been there a long, long time. It's funny though; they're right across from the police station. I guess for safety reasons, but they say that place is haunted. And then there's what do they call themselves? It's one of they're a takeoff of Crowley's people. Oh man, I can't think of it. Golden Leaf. Oh, I can't think of the damn name of them right now. But they've been around. Their group's been around for about 110 years. And then there's 3 covens. There was actually 6 of them, but 2 of them were. This goes back to ritual work. 2 of the covens were completely wiped out by another one. When they murdered everybody, killed everybody. Nobody could never figure out which one of them did it. But they went in and killed 2. It was 12 and 12. Doing meetings, they just went in and killed everybody. They say those ghosts are still roaming around. Matter of fact, some of the places where the covens, there's 3 witchcraft shops in the city, and people think when they go in, these are just make up play believe things, and they're not. These actually belong to covens. When you get in there and start talking to the sisters, you're actually talking to witches. You're not talking to just everyday people who are just out selling crystals and this kind of shit. They're actually witches. So you got to be kind of careful with the way you address them, because some people come in there drunk or stupid and act like an ass. Not the place to act like an ass. They'll probably put something on your ass fast. I know they're actually they're really nice people. When you come in and talk to them, they're doing their job. They're selling you whatever kind of spell you're looking for. They have every herb and grass and whatever damn you can think of is in there. When I used to practice magic, I'd go down and see them all the time. Well, actually, the one on St. Anne Street was my favorite. The 2 of the sisters were just great to go and talk to. We'd swap stories. We'd swap spells and stuff like that. Learn how to use different kind of amulets. They're really good, and they will take your time with you to work with you. But they can tell who's being serious and who's being an ass and stuff like that. So I just warn people when they go in there. If you're going in to be an ass, you're going to probably regret it. You're going to probably end up having a lousy trip while you're down here. But if you go in, talking to them the right way, you may even experience some good luck at the casino or something. So it's an interesting thing. But the 2 where they were all murdered, there was one off of Desire. Matter of fact, on Desire, there was the one coven that was murdered. Cannot even tell you how many hookers were killed on that street, and pimps. I mean, for a long time, from the early 1800s all the way through the late 1900s, there was constantly hookers there all the time. And you've always heard about one being drugged behind a building and killed or raped or killed or raped. It was just a constant thing because there were so many of them. And the city just didn't seem to care. Even today, the city doesn't exactly care if someone of lower quality gets killed. They're like, oh, well, yeah, we'll go look and see. But they don't ever really look there. Those kind of crimes go unsolved in our city all the time. It's a shame, and it shouldn't be like that, but they do. If they don't have someone, like y'all all know, we were talking about this last year, when the mayor left the people up in the building for a year and a half. Now, if that would have been somebody of consequence, that would have never happened. But since they were just lowly workers and their family didn't have any money to stand up for them, they got stuck up there for a year and a half. Now, that would have been one of the families that had money. Oh, no, they'd have been down within days. That's how even if they had to put somebody's life at risk, they'd have been down in days. But because they were nobodies, they were actually, I think they were both Hispanic. Nobody cared. In the city, all the citizens cared, but nobody would do anything because they didn't have anybody stand up for them. They couldn't raise hell with the newspapers or give the right amount of money to the right people to get something done. And it's unfortunate, but the city is still like that. In 2021, the only difference between the city in 2021 and 1721 is we're just more modern. But as far as the everyday rule goes and the way people act and the things that go on, it's pretty much the same city, which is a cool thing about it, but it's also a bad thing. I'm just glad they covered it in freaking cobblestone streets. God, I used to hate driving on them damn things. Car be the whole time. But it's just that kind of city. And the city is haunted as all hell, but it's not even the most haunted part of Louisiana. It's just very haunted. But when you get out to what we call Plantation Row. Oh my God, that's haunted. All them woods back up, all them, because now it's all swamp and woods because most of the plantations have been torn down. And occasionally you'll be driving down like River Road and you'll look back in the woods and you'll see something moving through the woods. And you'll see like an old wooden cottage, probably slave quarters or something from back in the day, still sitting back there. Man, in all the plantations that exist down here are haunted. All of them are. And some people say, oh, no, they're not. And then they got a group right down not far from where I live now, Beauvoir Manor, which is where the president of the Confederacy used to live. That place is haunted by, like you wouldn't believe. And behind it is a Confederate graveyard with, I think, 1,000 graves in it. So the whole place is just haunted. Basically, when you go from Pensacola, Florida to New Orleans, the whole area along the coast, you're going to see weird shit. And it's all kind of swamps. You can go see stuff in. But I warn people about the swamps. Be careful, because a lot of times you'll see these weird pieces of fog going through. They'll be blue or green or orange. It's swamp gas. It's not ghosties, people. It's swamp gas. And you'll know because of the smell.
Here's a good question there, Joe. So, because you got paranormal and ghosts and stuff like that. And Michelle, you could probably even comment on this part there. What about if witches crafts about conjuring spirits? Now, if you said that there was a lot of nefarious people down there, black cults and stuff like that, Joe, right? Mm-hmm. That do that. So what would you say to the people out there with the difference between a conjuring of an entity and stuff like that and just a regular ghost?
I'll leave that for Michelle. Now, they're all ghosties to me. You know what I think about ghosties already. What do you think, Michelle?
Dimensional bleed through.
I wasn't talking about me. He's asking you the question.
Sorry, is that the one we're going with?
My God, you get so much shock in the station.
Oh, wow. I have a good memory. I don't know. I think it's careful what you wish for. You can go in, depending on where you are. You know, you want to start conjuring things, you're definitely going to get something. Whether you're lucky enough just to get a benign spirit, you know, I guess, again, it depends on the location. You're in New Orleans, it's got a mix of everything. It's got so much history and so much death. You know, you're going to have a lot of darker things going around. But I don't know.
Here's one for you, Del. From time to time, both men and women will wake up in their hotel room with what looks to be vampire marks on their neck. Now, they don't turn into vampires or anything like that. But also in Anne Rice's book, she says that one of the things that vampires used to like to do is just grab somebody who was really loaded, suck their blood so they could get high, because it was the only way they could get loaded was by drinking the blood of someone that was high. And it still happens today. Now, I couldn't tell you if it's one of the cults down here screwing with people or if it's really a vampire, because it's never happened to me personally. And I've been all over the court at all times in the morning, drunk as you know what sometimes. There's one time we were all so drunk we couldn't find a car and it was only 10 feet from us. So this is something right there. But it is weird. You got to be careful. And it's one of the things, because there are nefarious things down here. And there are things that, you know, will make you disappear. You know, they may decide that you might make a good sacrifice and drag you out to the swamp and feed you to something or cut you up and, you know, whatever.
Well, I guess if you wake up in your hotel room and you got two little puncture marks in your neck is a lot better than having a puncture mark in your rear end. Or not even showing up again or something.
I'm thinking you could say you had a good night because a wild night you can't remember.
Well, they say some of the vampire cults do it to drain blood from you for their stock because they have to keep their stock up. So I do know one of the groups I went in had 4 refrigerators, big refrigerators full of blood. Actually, it was legal too, which surprised me. I didn't think that would be legal. I don't know how they got a permit for that, and I still don't. They knew somebody or had, and then they got the necromancers down here. There's a whole society of necromancers, and I ain't a big fan of the necromancers. So, there was one on Magazine Street. I had to go work in this place because a friend of mine owned the house, and every now and then he'd send me down there because they needed maintenance. I didn't know. First off, the place always smelled like embalming fluid. Always. Mm-hmm. It just stank like it, and I was like, I mean, I used to go down to the haunted mortuary, which is still here, by the way. Anybody can go rent it. And it never smelled like embalming fluid. This place always did. I was like, and I didn't even want to know why. I just wanted to do whatever I was doing and get out. And, you know, and they were always dressed up like goths. You know, there was always more girls than guys there. And they were always really gothic. And they always would try to tell you something and hit on you something. I was like, I was messing with one of them. I was like, skip back, bitch.
What's the address, man? Asking for a friend.
The city closed them down and made them move outside the city limits. But
where did they end up?
in it's a little place called Le Place. It's actually called La Place. It's spelled.
Told you piss.
Yeah, no. When people read it, people always say La Place because it's spelled Laplace. So people call it La
Ooh.
Place, but it's actually French, so it's La Place. Don't call it La Place because the coon asses will know you're not from there, and you may end up somewhere you don't belong. I'm just warning people. It's a weird place to come hang out. 'Cause as long as you're with a local, you're safe. It's just when you're not with a local. If you're not with a local, don't leave the city. If somebody asks you to go out somewhere, leaving the city, do not go unless you know them, because no telling where the hell they're going to bring you or take you. And they may not kill you; they may just rob you. But regardless, don't go outside the city.
What if you're the killer, and then they invite you, and you're like, ha ha ha.
Yeah, and then you find out it's like 10 of them and one of you. Even killers don't want to come hanging around down here.
Introduce you to a Glock.
It's like, as I imagine, it's like any haunted place in the country, any haunted place in the world for that matter. I mean, there's do's and don'ts. Don't go provoking shit.
Yes and no. It's still a big city.
Yeah, well, it is.
Which has big city problems like crime and whatever.
Yeah, crime and stuff like that. And you got to worry about that. For the most part, the crime stays out of the French Quarter and the Meridian. And the reason why is the cops are really funny about this. Don't screw with the tourists, because that's their bread and butter. So if you screw with the tourists, they're going to come after you. One way or another, they come looking for you. Every now and then you get the gangs like 1 3 there, and somebody decided to get crazy one night on Mardi Gras and take a gun and shoot up a bunch of people. Nobody got killed, but they shot about 25 people. It took the cops all about 10 minutes to catch them. And then one of them got crazy one night and decided to shoot up one of the police stations. Took all about 5 minutes to catch him. I think they killed like 6 people while they were looking for him. So it's just, just be smart. Don't be stupid. Pay attention to the environment. If you're coming down here to ghost hunt, it's a great place to go ghost hunt. Just, keep your wits about you. I mean, for some people, it's going to be overwhelming. So if you're an empath, or if you're sensitive, or if you're a telepath, or if you're just very sensitive and any kind of psychic, it can be overwhelming at first, because there's a lot of stuff, especially in the heart of the quarter. There's just a lot there. There's let's see, what is it? There's Desire, Royal, Bourbon on I can't get out on any street, but there's 4 streets right there that run through the quarter, and then the Riverwalk. Those places are extremely haunted. They have serious history. There's lots of shit went on in there, and there's been things like good versus evil. So you'll see things like, and it even seems to go on today. Like even in the spiritual world, there still seems to be like good versus evil down there. And then you'll see people trying to help the good to get rid of the evil. There actually are meetings once a month where this club gets together to help vanquish the evil out of the city. They really think that a lot of the crime in the city is brought by these evil spirits that take over people while they're in the city itself. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but they sure get out there and try to get rid of these demons or whatever you want to call them all the time. It's freaky, scary stuff.
Well, don't you think that people go there to do that type of stuff, and which draws it in even more?
Some do. And some people go down there with a stupid idea that they big and bad and they can resist anything, and they find out that's not exactly true. And, I mean, there's some people that good. I mean, a lot of people in this network would handle themselves down here. Even if it was overwhelming at first, they would be able to handle themselves because they're trained in it. But for the ordinary everyday person, or a new ghost hunter, or somebody who thinks they're good. Matter of fact, there's 2 big groups meeting this week. I caught an advertisement for them today. I'm not going to tell them who they are, but there's 2 big ghost hunting groups they're going to get together, and they're going to go down these 4 blocks, and they're going to do these spells and stuff to try to get rid of the demons in the city and get them out of it. And the city itself has actually hired people to come bless the Superdome, because unfortunately it's built on an Indian burial ground. For a long time, the city sucked. I'll get this. The Saints had losing seasons for 20 years. They came and blessed the dome, got rid of all the spirits, and guess what? They've been winning ever since. So maybe it was true. I mean, I don't know for sure, but it seems like there was something to it. But it's like that. The whole city's like that.
What is besides New Orleans, right? That's the end of the river, the delta that goes into the Gulf, right? And is there anything else special out of it besides just the spot that it was the?
Well, think about
end
it.
Of the river going in there, like there's no huge crystallization around there, or magnetics, or waypoints, or something like that.
Well, a couple of ley lines that intersect through the city. Also, the city's in an interesting spot the way it's laid out on the map, But the thing of it is if there's something coming down the river, we have all that stuff. We always talk about the stuff being emptied in the river, but no one ever stops to think what comes down the river on the barges, on the ships, on the old paddle wheelers that go up and down the river and stuff. Tennessee, you got St. Louis and Memphis right there across from each other. They're hooked on the city. There's several cities up and down the Mississippi River, and all that stuff gets swept down to us. So if you've got like something that got caught on the water and it's being pulled down, it's going to end because the way the city has a crescent, it pulls it in and pulls it around the city. So it's almost always going to get deposited in the city itself. And they talk about that a lot of time because they had one of those steamboat captains was giving a lecture one time, and he was talking about the different people he would see that they looked like Tennessee volunteers and stuff like that. People like that he'd see just walking along the river walk like they were lost, trying to find their way home. He's had a couple of people actually ask him on occasion, what was that? Can I help him? He said, no, that's not a real person. Don't pay attention to that. It's not somebody that's real. So you get a lot, in the old days too. One of the reasons people wave at each other, this goes way back a long time, but in the old days, people used to wave at each other for the simple fact that after being out on the road for a long time, or riding for a long time, you would sometimes hallucinate. So you would wave to see if they would wave back to you. If they waved back to you, just ignore it. There was another person going. But if they didn't wave back, then they almost always thought it was some kind of spirit of some kind. And it would always freak them out. And now we just wave out of kindness of our heart, being neighborly. But it's a freaky place to live sometimes. And then on the Gulf Coast where I'm at, it's weird up here. I mean, past Christianity is like one of these Christian towns. So if there's any ghosts here, I'm sure the Christians are running their asses out here left and right. But as you go down, like into Biloxi and Ocean Springs and places like that, they're extremely haunted down there. The old cities, just like New Orleans, they've been around a long time. Mobile used to be the capital of Louisiana for a long time. All this territory, all the way to Pensacola, was part of Louisiana at one time. So all of it's pretty. Mobile's it's a lot of ways. Mobile looks just like the New Orleans city does. It's just more compressed. There's a lot of ghosts there too. There's just so much history down here, and so many people have been killed through the wars and through all kinds of other stuff. And then all the slaves that were handled down here, not just the slaves. There was so many. We always talk about the slaves, but people don't stop to think there was literally hundreds of thousands of indentured servants right here, women by the thousands that came here. They would get married so they could work off their penance, or they'd go work in the clubs or something so they could work off their money to be a free woman again. So technically, they were slaves until they bought themselves back. Nobody ever wanted to call them slaves, but they were. They were called indentured servants. But you couldn't do anything. You couldn't go anywhere until you paid that mark back. And it was usually like, 50% interest or some shit. It was outrageous. So it took them a long time to pay that back. And you still see, what's really scary is you still see that going on today. They just busted a bunch of Orientals for the same thing. Massage parlors where they were keeping these women. They were basically indentured servants. They were being brought over from Asia at like $10,000. Well, I think it was like, it would cost them $10,000 to bring them over, and they were charging them $50,000. And then after they paid the $50,000 back, they could be free. So it's crazy, but I mean, it's still something that goes on even in the modern world, and people still go missing in that city all the time. It's got one of the highest missing people's rates anywhere. But there's a lot of reasons why. It could be crime, it could be ghosties, it could be drunk asses falling off in the river or falling in a swamp and getting eaten by gators. So it's not, I watch tourists sometimes going, "Oh, I'm going walking through a swamp." I said, "Really? Go ahead. I want to watch this. I said, can I film it?" I want to see it happen. I mean, come on, you know what's going to happen. You can bet money on what's going to happen next. And now, see, when I was a kid, there were mini gators. They were hunted almost to extinction. Now they're everywhere. I mean, you see these suckers walking. Matter of fact, we drive another day to go to get something to eat. There's one on the side of the road, inside the pond. He about 7 feet, just sitting out there chilling, taking some sun.
Is there a military base right outside of New Orleans?
There's several, actually. There's actually 3 in New Orleans, and then there's several around New Orleans. And then there's the old Spanish forts and the old World War II forts. And then you've got like Spanish Fort. That place is so haunted, I don't even want to go in that damn place. I'll bring y'all over there one night. Like Michelle, she'd go in there by her damn self. I ain't going in there. You know what I mean? You go walk in there. That place she'd love it, crazy woman. The place is haunted like you wouldn't believe. And you know what's freaky about this place? We went there for years to go UFO hunting. And nobody ever came out there. It was pitch black. Lynn and I go out there in the middle of the night doing all kind of weird stuff. And one day I get on the radio and say something about, we seen something event that had happened out there. And I talked about it. Now they got big lights out there, tons of cars everywhere. Every place I've talked about on the radio so far, I don't even go back to anymore because they become tourist traps. That's what I call them, because people just show up like Honey Island Swamp. Nobody.
Because you're advertising it, man.
Well,
Jeez.
I was just telling people about it, and what do I know? So
tell them about Walmart instead, and then they'll go there, and then we can go to one of the spots.
But it is a weird city. But imagine, it's like Los Angeles or any city, Ontario.
I can't even get into Gettysburg right now. Everything's booked, unless you want to pay a fortune, But it's the season since the battle was in early July.
Aren't they doing
Reenactments and all
pretty
that.
soon?
I think that stirs everything up, man. That's why I want to go.
I do too, actually.
Yeah, I want to go just when it's over.
Yeah, just when everybody leaves and the ghosts are just starting to settle back down. It's I ordered me a new set of night goggles. I have to try them out up there,
That's cool.
and they're kind of nice too. They're really only good for about 400 yards though for intense, and then up to about 100 yards real close. So, and then a friend of mine sent me a what do you call it? An orb camera. I ain't even sure what to do with this thing. So I've had my orb done before.
Is that what it does?
I don't know. I mean, somebody's read my.
Bugs.
It's a moth. I had one time I had tried to convince somebody it was a moth. And they were like, they wouldn't believe it, man. They thought it was a spiritual orb. Then I showed them like 100 pictures of moths captured at night, and they all looked identical to what they got. No, it's a spirit. I'm like, okay. I've seen an orb. I've seen an orb in a video. Walking down the hallway. All right, the orb was going down the hallway, and then it went to a room, and then it turned, and it was a woman's face, and then turned back, and then it was back an orb again, and it went into the room. That was pretty intense.
Yeah, but you can usually tell, I find, where people are with their paranormal experiences, especially if it's somebody new. Everything's an orb. Everything's an orb, I find.
Yeah,
and then as they get more experienced, and
they put it on television like that. Look, there's thousands of orbs. You know, you're like, no, it's dust. It's just crap. It's nothing. You know, no, they're ghosts. And you know, that's what kind of takes away from us, the serious investigators, and then these people who are freaks, and then they're on TV doing that, which makes it look worse. You know, you remember a show called Ghost Kids? Anybody remember that?
Ghost Trackers.
It was Ghost Kids.
Yeah, no, it's different. Up here we had Ghost Trackers.
Yeah, this was on for a short time. They faked all the evidence, and it was like the same guy, probably the producer who was doing the EVPs, of him whispering. And we've all heard EVPs. We know for a fact that what they sound like, for one, you know, they don't sound like the regular voice, but
and don't
it's just
coming through Class A either.
Yeah, you know what? So it's just stuff like that kind of detracts from what everybody does. You know, even UFO.
I've got many fights. Yeah, I've got many fights over orbs, man. I was at a conference, big name guy, SG is his initial. He got this big picture of things. I said, dude, it's not orbs. I said, what are you? I said, it's insects. He said, no. I said, dude, hold on. I said, hold on. So I went out to the car. I get out my camera. I said, flip through it. I said, here, let's put this up on the screen. I said, doesn't that look exactly the same? He said, yeah, where'd you get that from? I said, a friend of mine, Gregory Avery, who we call the Orb Master, who was really good at getting orbs, but these were not orbs. And I said, look, let me show you what they were. And he said, no. I said, so I slid to the next slide, and you could see these little tiny black ends. I mean, they were tiny, but the zoom was up close. So when the flash hit them, it looked like a bunch of orbs floating around. Of course, it wasn't. It was little black. I think they were gnats or something. But you gotta rule out everything before you just assume it's something paranormal or something alien or whatever it may be.
Yeah, but orbs have a lot of criteria too. If you look at it, there's a lot of really good articles written out there. I shared them in my group because we have quite a few people in there. They get all like dust. I had one guy sending me all these videos, and he'd be lifting up the covers on his blankets in his room. Oh my God, the room's full of orbs. No, it's not. It's dust.
Yeah, man, go shake that blanket outside out for a while. And the bad part is most people don't even know what dust is. So I'm doing a lecture, and the guy says, well, what is dust? I said, it's skin. He's like, what? I said, yeah, it's the flaking skin of your body. They're like, what? I was like, that's what dust is.
I realized this was when we had security cameras. We have them. We just haven't put them up here. And it would look like an absolute blizzard outside. And you'd go out there and there'd be nothing. Might be just this little light mist or a little bit of fog. And you could barely, I was telling Del about the cameras. That's when we realized how much night vision cameras magnify and pick stuff up.
Yeah.
And it look like something that it's not.
On one of the sites we got, there's a bunch of pictures. I took them when it was drizzling outside or misting, just like you were saying. And they're beautiful orbs, don't get me wrong, with all kind of hexagrams in them and stuff. They're really pretty, but they're water vapor. That's what they are. But everybody's like, oh, no, that's definitely, look at the design. That can't be intelligent. That's got to be intelligent. I'm like, no.
Yeah, but Michael gave some great criteria for an orb. Like he said, he followed it. He witnessed it with his own eyes. It turned around and you saw a face in it. Like he witnessed it. Like there's all kinds of criteria for it. And like I said, you can tell usually where people are with their paranormal. And I'm not trying to sound arrogant. It's just you can see it, because it's exciting, right? Like oh my God, I caught some evidence.
Right.
Anyway, I know we keep getting off track here tonight, but that's one of the things we were talking about.
What is the track?
Well, no, we were talking about possessions and which
like gold, silver.
Well, no, we were talking about like spirits versus possessions, channeling, stuff like that. And the spirit's just a spirit as far as I'm concerned, floating around. You know what I'm gonna think they are anyway, but I'm gonna be nice and let it go as a spirit.
Yeah, bleed through.
But possession is another
That's
thing, buddy.
here.
And with possession, I've actually witnessed possession on a couple of times, and I know it's a real phenomena. So
I have too, man. It's freaky.
It is horrible. It is the absolute worst epitome of evil. We don't even have words in the English language to describe it. I believe that anyways.
I know I did see one that cracked me up. It was like a scene out of one of the Exorcist movies where it looked like she's spitting out, pea soup and stuff. And her head almost looked like it was turning around there for a little while. But it was. But when they speak, it freaks me out because in church you hear people speak in tongues, and then when you hear these people in possession, they're basically speaking in tongue, and it's kind of creepy.
But are they really saying anything? Has anybody ever kind of recorded it and said, "Hey, put this through Google Translate, and see what they're saying"?
Sometimes, well, the people in church usually somebody knew the language they were speaking.
Yeah, but anybody can. Exactly.
I dealt with this in the Pentecostal church, and
it sounds like gibberish.
The way it was explained to me is that they're speaking an ancient language. Some people want to say that it's like a Nokian or angelic language, but there's usually somebody else that's sort of at the same time is interpreting. So this person is babbling out in a language that it sounds like babble to everybody else, and then somebody else is speaking.
Creepiest thing I ever saw.
I've witnessed this many times at the church when I used to go to church there, and I was always sort of really like perplexed about this. It was like, what's really going on?
Pentecostals are famous for that.
Yeah. The creepiest thing I ever saw was somebody levitate on camera, and I knew this person, and with the look of evil, it was not their face. And then it really freaked me out. This was like early in discovering what was going on in our own house. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, maybe I should pray. I'm not a prayer, but I'll pray. 4:00 in the morning, I'm literally saying the Our Father in my head. I get a message on Messenger and say, stop the F what you're doing right now. Could not hear me. They lived in California. I'm in Canada. And then about an hour later, sent me a message. It's time. So I thought, okay, I'll play. For what? Never told me what, but how would that thing know that was in this person that I was saying a prayer, what, thousands of miles away for them?
It's weird how that shit happens.
Oh, creepy.
It's creepy. This gets creepy. I'm not, so sometimes when I heard him speak in tongue, I was kind of like, I'm with like Michelle just said, it's babble, but or jibber jabber, whatever you want to call it. But like Del said, usually there was somebody in there interpret. But when I hear something,
not where I was.
Yeah, because you probably was in the devil's church. That's a whole different thing. But,
yeah, they speak English there. You can understand them at least.
Yes, I hate you, bitch. Yeah, I can hear what they're saying.
No language barrier.
What I find is light language. This is a new thing with light workers, and it's just insane. It literally sounds like gobbledygook, and it's like, where is this coming from? Like, why are you doing this? Some people won't do it on camera, so to me, you gotta be making something up. If you're not going to,
probably. I mean, there might be a legit one somewhere. That's the other problem. If any of what we're talking about is legit, all these other people are just making it unlegitimate. It makes it hard, because I've heard sometimes like there was a gentleman. I remember we went to an exorcism, and I was like, it was the second one I've ever been to, and I'm like, really? I said the first one was completely fake. I don't care what anybody says; it was just completely fake. And the second one, though, first off, when I walked in the room, I got this first, every hair on my body stood up. And then I got this really cold, crazy sensation. And then I noticed everybody in the room was blowing smoke because it was so cold in the room. Now it's like 98 degrees outside. So they were kind of like, okay, but I'm paying attention. This girl sits on bed. She's about 25, and she just looked over at us and she started speaking. And she's speaking with this really raspy, deep voice. Mm-hmm. She says, I know you. You're Joe. I know you. You're Mark. And I'm thinking, oh, shit. And the two people in the room, the priest and that guy, didn't know us from being. We was invited by the homeowner, but they didn't know us from being. And the homeowner wasn't in the room because he was scared shitless of the place. And I'm sitting there, okay. And then she starts talking about some other stuff, and then she starts really going after the priest. It was And he's like throwing fucking holy water on her. And every time the holy water looked, I swear it looked like there was smoke coming off of her skin. It was really creepy, but it was no marks. And I was like, okay. So I just kind of backed up a little bit away from the thing. And she looks over and she goes, you can back up as far as you want. I'm coming for you. I said, I'm out of here. I said, I'll see y'all later, babe. But then I couldn't leave because I was just itching myself.
The big thing, I guess, with possession, I guess with Hollywood, they're putting it out there. We've all sort of imagined stuff like that. But I've watched quite a few documentaries and read a bunch of accounts where there's been stuff to like the body where letters have popped up through the skin. Skin is turned to like almost look like it's like stone, veins coming up and that. And these are priest accounts and other people that have been there witnessing that. So these ones sort of get a little bit weird, and you have to sort of wonder, like, has it just been the fascination of Hollywood putting this stuff out there, or is
I don't know, because there's a guy in my Facebook group. One of my rules is you have to have videos in English. He is somewhere over in Thailand, and I've asked him to explain what's going on. These are pretty realistic. They're spirits. Actually, Michelle, you might know a lot about it, about some of them. A lot of them I haven't heard of, and he'll explain what they're expelling. And when you see what this human being is doing, and he posts the videos in my group, actually, they're pretty interesting. I mean, I feel sorry for the individual, whatever they're going through, but it's pretty obvious. I don't think they're faking it. But what I want to know is, why do they have so many? Because like this guy posts them like a couple times a week. And people's heads turning around and like hands like spreading out to like something that you couldn't do with human, and the look, it's always that look in their eye. Oh, that's
maybe they're calling them. I know I've witnessed stigmata a few times over the years, but different. I've seen one lady I met from British Honduras who had all 7 signs, but mostly it would be bleeding here, or the marks in the palms, or the marks in the. And you know what's funny about this is, the difference between someone having real stigmata and fake is, if you see it here, it's probably fake. If you see it here, it's not. Yeah, because they used to nail them by the wrist because your hands would just pull through.
I've seen internal stigmata on the wrist and proven with an X-ray.
People who aren't educated on the subject, according to the Bible, he was nailed through the hands, but he wasn't. That's not how they did it, because his weight would have just pulled through his hands. That's why they nailed him through the wrist. Yep. And but if you didn't know that, so if you seen somebody doing it, then you would know it was fake. And there was other ones. One girl kept shooting, like, anytime we would have like a baptism in the Baptist church, her head would always break out like the thorn of a crown. You'd see all these spots, and then just blood would start running down her face and the back of her head. I've seen it myself. I don't know what to say about it. It's some kind of manifestation. And the weird part about this is, I don't know if it was a godly manifestation or if she just manifested. Because, we all know with enough energy you can manifest anything. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to say if she was manifested or if something else was manifesting.
Or even subconsciously. Was she really like uber religious, or?
Oh yeah, she was very religious. She was pretty damn religious, actually. That whole church was very, very religious. I don't even know how I ended up there, but they were, because I was raised Catholic. And I remember when I got baptized in a Christian church, I was like, this was kind of weird. Because you got to recant or whatever, not recant.
Confirmation.
No.
Repent.
Thank you, Mike. You got to repent before you can do the thing. And I was like 16 at the time, 17 at the time. So repent wasn't that big of a deal. No, today it might take a little while. It might take 2 or 3 days to get everything out. But
isn't that what all the bad girls, the Catholic girls' school did there? They just repented every day.
Catholics were different. Catholics are, they were bad girls. Them girls were bad, man. I tell you what, there was Chappelle, which was an all-girls Catholic school. All the guys loved that school because you'd go by there, everybody could get a date instant. Because, poor girl's been locked up in a girls' school for like 4 years, man. They were just glad to see a guy. But it was crazy. But no, Catholics believe different things. So, with the Catholics, you can do whatever you want. You can be the hitman, like John Elite, who's been on his network a couple of times. You can kill as many people as you want and ask for extra unction on your deathbed, and you're not going to hell. Now, you're not going to heaven either, but you're not going to hell. And purgatory, it's just supposed to. I still personally think if there is a purgatory, this is it. We're living in purgatory.
No,
y'all was bad. Y'all's last life is all.
They brought back indulgence recently, and you can just pay. Basically, they tell you how much. Oh, yeah. That's all. Well, no matter what you do, you give $5-10 grand, you're okay.
Well, that's people talk about that all the time. Buying yourself into heaven.
Jesus needs money, man. He's bad with his money.
I don't think Jesus cares about money.
He doesn't invest it.
No,
He got no Bitcoin.
just the preachers on the earth there need money.
Yeah, they do too. Yeah, man. I mean, I've never seen an ugly Catholic church. I gotta be honest.
Well, yeah, they
Baptist
got
church are
gold,
different, but Catholic
gold
church,
and jewels.
it's
Although
so funny.
they have people who attend who are starving, though. Isn't that funny?
Oh yeah. Well, Linda and I passed by yesterday. We were coming back from bringing Sam to the doctors, and we're going by. We passed by this beautiful church, and what they're doing right next door to a big building, a bigger one. Now this is a gorgeous big church we're talking about. Now just right next, I mean, literally 15 feet away from them, they're building a much bigger one. I'm like, really? Is that many people out here in redneck country land can afford to go to this church?
Tax free.
It ain't as tax free as it used to be, but still.
Oh yeah, it is. They don't pay a tax.
No. There was
Not on land, not on donations.
They got to pay.
Not even Reno night or Las Vegas night. They don't pay not even $1.
It's kind of strange when you see all these weirdo people down here. I mean, I live in really religious country, like the Catholic church that's not far from my house. This thing has got to be 30,000 square feet, 4 stories high. It's stunning when you walk up to it or in it. And I'm thinking, okay, I need to do what? And this is going to get me into heaven. How? I'm thinking God's looking down on this going, that's just sin is what he's thinking. I mean, Lord, I mean, places. But speaking of that, I was talking to the pastor after, not the pastor, the choir director after the last hurricane. I had stopped by, I was getting pumpkins is what I was doing for Halloween. And we were talking about the damage to the church. And he got to saying something about it. He said, oh, yeah, we're going to easily take care of it. We'll just get a few donations. And he said, one of our guys is a contractor. They'll come do all the work for free. And we'll pay for the materials. And wham, bam, thank you, man. Didn't cost the church. You didn't even have to get into their insurance, which they had, by the way.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, what?
So
I'd have been saying 35,000.
Churches are totally different than what they used to be, right? Churches were set up the way that the way they were set up was for noise, sound, to broadcast. The way that they were all done. Now our churches that are built there today are like they could be in a building or a barn or something like that. But there was a certain design that was for them, and the way that they are. If you look at the old world churches in Europe and stuff like that, and how like you could almost like whisper at one end and somebody could hear you across there. They were all set up differently.
Well, the Catholic churches are still built like that, but all the rest of them are not. Now they use PA systems. And I mean, every Catholic church I go in has still got a high thrust ceiling. It still has slanted paneled walls. So when you're talking, it pounds off the walls and reflects off the ceiling. And you're right. You could be standing up on you'll notice when the priest is on the stand, he's not using a mic. He's just projecting his voice. But if you go to any other church, they usually have a mic clip, to the lapel so they can.
Oh yeah, well that's for newer stuff. You ever see the one in the Vatican there, the new part that was done there? That when you're looking down, it looks like a snake. The eyes, the way the windows go, and
that's because it probably is a damn snake. They let Michelle design it.
It's a serpent.
See, look at the eye. Look, evil. She's evil, man. I'm telling you. She got ghosties walking around her house and stuff. That's probably where we're going to go investigate her house. Probably the most haunted place in Canada.
How many of these churches do you think burned themselves down to get the money?
I don't even want to go there. I've seen a few of them do them. I've seen a few churches kind of mysteriously burned down. And today they got to follow modern specs. Even if they're old, they got to have smoke detectors in them, sprinkler systems in them.
Oh yeah.
We put one in a church not that long ago, which was a pain in the ass, by the way. But still, I mean, they have to have them. But you do see them burn down.
But at least you don't put in that bullcrap detector, man, because they'll go off all the time.
Well, since we're talking about possession, one of the churches I went to as a kid. So they used to have this thing. They did big, get all the teenagers together, and they get a big movie screen out there, and then they would talk about, like the last days on earth and how we were all going to burn, and then they would show you everybody burning and the devil eating people. I mean, shit, you left that thing, you were like, you praying to everybody.
God loves you.
I mean, you praying. I'm telling you what, it's like that movie, what is it, The Late Great Planet Earth. I went and seen that with my girlfriend. Shit, we were ready to commit suicide right there and be done with it.
I don't like movies that make me feel bad. I need to have a happy ending.
There wasn't no happy ending in that.
I need a happy ending out of this. There, I got to go and take off, guys. I got to get ready.
You got to get ready for work. All right, Dal. Thanks for stopping by, babe.
So, I'll see everybody else there tomorrow. Check out the delicious recipe at 9 p.m.
Don't get impregnated by no aliens either. I hear there's a lot up there.
Watch out for that bleed through.
That's right.
Yeah, them gray aliens bleed right through your wall, but
right in the car, driving down the road, and boom, they're there.
They come say, "I love you, I love you." Yeah, somebody wrote to me yesterday. He said, "Well, Joe, you know, grays are just ghosts." I'm like, "Okay, it's fine by me." And she's like, "No, I thought you were going to argue." And I said, "Look, if you think the grays are ghosts, look, you think whatever you want." I
I don't
said,
care what they are. I want to
when
talk to them,
when the
man.
gray drag you down the hallway, kicking and screaming, don't call me
I
about
want the
it.
conversation without dying. That's pretty much it.
Well, they wouldn't kill you. They might wipe your memory because some things you don't want to remember. But
Maybe I
yeah,
wipe their memory. I'm very persuasive.
they're very persuasive. They're just like they do listen to your forehead. And you're kind of like,
Master manipulator, I've been called.
yeah, that's that evil redhead called you. I'm not talking to the one above you either. I'm not talking about the one above you. I'm talking about a different evil redhead. Anyway, somebody just said, wait, what?
Y'all behave now.
Wait, what? Where? What? Okay, hold on. Wait, hold on. Let me see what this email says. This thing keeps popping up on my screen. Let me put it up where I can actually read it. My name is Ginger Lane. I'm not even believing that. I'm sorry. Wait, I gotta stop laughing. I live in the most haunted place in Canada, Vancouver. What?
She has
Is
been
that-
in my house. She wasn't in my
No,
house.
I don't believe Vancouver's the most haunted. All right, I'm not even a Canadian. I don't believe that.
I never even heard of Vancouver be associated with spirits. I'm sure there are, though. I mean,
too, but I've heard aliens out there all the time. I ain't never heard nothing about ghosts. I mean, I hear there's a lot of old places
aliens,
up there.
Chinese, but nothing about ghosts.
What is the oldest town in Canada?
Niagara on the Lake is said to be, it's dubbed the most haunted town in Canada.
Isn't Montreal one of the oldest? I mean,
Old Montreal would be, or Quebec
pretty old.
City. Let's face
What
it,
about
they're
Nova Scotia?
going to go where
Right.
everybody settled first.
Nova Scotia, it's on the
They
ocean.
came in, that's right, they came into the east,
Yeah.
right, from Europe. And I imagine if you came in from the Orient, you would have come in through Vancouver, British Columbia. But for the most part, they came in from the east, made their way central, was usually,
Where I live.
Quebec, Montreal. Then they came into this province of Ontario.
They came through here with Hudson's Bay and all that.
That's right.
Right on Great Lakes.
Up to Saskatchewan. How did Trudeau get in there? The
Through
Cuban
the Great
connection?
Lakes and the
From
St. Lawrence.
Cuba. His
Cuba.
mother made it with Fidel Castro.
You got to put a clip of him with Ricky Ricardo playing the conga man, I got to do that. I got to
I say
Photoshop.
we put a picture of him down there with Obama and Rafael Castro. Just for
there you go.
shits and giggles.
Cuba. Joe Biden's being knocked on Cuba, but we're not talking politics today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Speaking of that, for this Friday, we got some good stuff. Well, I was reading today. We got some. Oh man, it's been
Some
busy.
crazy
week of
stuff.
politics. Man, yeah, it's been crazy lately. Y'all tune in Friday for the Centrals. We'll tell y'all all about it.
Yeah,
we
turned
may
out
have
crazy.
we may have to even do a show on Wednesday about it. There's been so much crap
I sent
going
you
on there.
something already just now during the show.
Yeah, I'll have to read it.
About
Yeah, because what is my
Michelle's
favorite
getting irritated because we're talking about politics, man.
No,
Let's slide back.
we're not even really on topic. So
Yeah,
I'm
we've
just,
been
I'm just
all
going
around
to
the topic. We've been all around the topic tonight.
Ghosts. We've been talking about
it's definitely not what I remember freaking writing up.
Yeah, we've talked a lot of ghosty stuff, but we've been all around the topic.
Definitely
I'm
not.
lost
We
on
did
the
touch a
topic.
little bit on
Topic, so
possession. Yeah, we
It's
talked a little
a
bit.
free for all right now.
What are we talking about? What
Oh,
were
no,
we
wait. Now, that's we on that. I was thinking places outside U.S. like Hades. That's got to be really haunted. I bet there's a lot of possession shit goes on.
Well, in Haiti, they do a lot of voodoo, man. Some Santeria, but mainly voodoo, isn't it?
Yeah, it is mainly voodoo. But I'm thinking
It's
all
called
them little
voodoo.
islands down there, they got to be
Actually
seriously
pronounced
scared.
voodoo.
I wouldn't even doubt that
There
Puerto
is
Rico's possessed.
Santeria has mostly been from Central and South America.
Yeah, but it migrated. A lot of people do voodoo.
And Florida, Cuba.
Yeah. A lot of people that do voodoo, they kind of.
But yeah, you never
use
hear nothing
everything,
about
you know?
Florida being haunted. Florida, they don't even talk about haunted. I guess because they don't scare the old people off that are moving down there.
Miami, old Miami.
Mhm.
Over
But
there.
you just don't really hear about ghosties down much.
No, St. Augustine, man. You heard of St. Augustine?
St.
Yeah.
Augustine, yeah. You
They got-
do hear about St. Augustine. That's a
I
whole
got
different
the
thing.
group,
yeah.
St. Augustine Ghost Hunters, man. They're on my page, and they got a lot of
Yeah,
that.
I've been down there a few times. Matter of fact, the last time I was talking just about Serafina too long ago when she was talking about that place where the kids are on the corner, and then the guest came on talking about it. There's that place. Oh, I can't even remember the people who are in there now. They say that place is haunted beyond belief. They got these weird kids in there, and they're possessed and shit. They come out and try to possess you. What the hell? I mean, I've heard about it, but it's also the oldest city in the United States. I'm sure some nasty stuff went on there back in the day. It was in Spanish control for a long time. Maybe a little French control, definitely Americans after that. Same thing with New Orleans. We had 3 different controls down here, plus the Native Americans. It's another thing down there. They have natives down there. So I imagine there's quite a bit of what you'd call. And come to think about it, I just read an article not that long ago about people who don't remember their holiday because they think they were possessed, that they were going to places they would not normally go because that's where the ghosties wanted
That's
to go.
how I ended up at Walmart. I swear it.
Every time I go in Walmart, I charge them $20 for my person being in there. So you got to give me $20 for coming in this place.
Should bill them. They'd probably pay you.
They would probably. It's just strange though, because with the Haitians, there does seem to be a lot of. And you know what else about it? It gets played into a lot of movies, especially James Bond movies and stuff like that. They show you. What was that guy who used to do the lemon the commercial for 7-Up, the lemon lime commercial?
It's kind of sexy and exotic. Haiti is, I mean, it's got the mysticism. I wouldn't want to go there.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I'm thinking that's not a place I'd want to go. And then I would imagine places in Africa, even South Africa, I imagine, has some pretty harsh things down in there that you'd have to deal with.
Oh, yeah, man.
I was
turbulent.
talking to somebody about that. His family was from Nigeria. He's in Australia, and he was talking a lot about spirit stuff and what they believe and what happens and how they connect and stuff. It's a really interesting conversation.
I got friends in Ethiopia, man. They could fill your head full of all kinds of stuff. I mean, these guys, they protect the so-called the Ark of the Covenant, but talk about, mysticism. A lot, man. A lot of history.
It is. It's but how do you, if you do know somebody gets possessed? First off, in the old days, you could probably get hold to a priest, but I don't even know if you can get hold to a priest now anymore. You might in New Orleans because we've got a big Catholic presence, but I'm not.
But who says a priest is going to help you? I don't know. I don't believe in that, man. I don't believe in them. I mean, maybe the individual's got some ability, but a priest because they're a priest.
Well, there's still and believe it or not, the Catholics still have a school for that. They actually have.
Yeah, they do. I know, man. I'm trying to get that dude on the air, but he's in the Philippines, and it's a whole 12-hour difference, from where I am.
And they're very protective of their so-called rituals.
Father Francois, yeah, he writes books though. I mean, but they have more requests in Italy, over 500,000 requests for exorcisms, and they only have like 276 exorcists in the Catholic Church. And then they poo-poo on everybody else who does it, people who take it upon themselves that aren't affiliated with some church. But they shouldn't, because if they have the ability, you're working as a team to kind of move them all along, I think.
See that ghost? He tried to reach up and touch the back of Michelle's head there. His arm must be short or something there. It went like that. It was growing blue. It was growing blue.
Wouldn't dare.
It's coming
to get out of that red thing behind. Must come out of that chair.
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Wouldn't
I'm telling you, you went like that. I was watching.
I'm waiting for someone to jump out of that case, man.
I know. Hey, look, she had to move. What's his name? What's his name kept staring at me all the time. Blad, no little self. Every time I'd be watching, Blad cut his eyes. I know, because he was creepy. He's always cutting his eyes one way or another.
Just for you, I moved him out of the way.
Damn, I was going to have to do a spell on Blad. He kept cutting his eyes. Every now and then you see the chair name move too. There's all kind of stuff from her damn house. I've seen things on a shelf on the right side of her over there move.
Things move. You get used to it. You hear things.
What creeps me out is when the doll people are on and the damn dolls start moving. I hate that shit. It's like that Raggedy Andy and them clown dolls. I hate them things. Every time I see one, I'm going to blow one of them damn things up.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. It's some kind of phobia, which a lot of people have, including myself. But they'll be doing, I forgot who was the last one on. This guy's really famous guy. He's got like 60 dolls behind him, right? And every one he's exercised. I'm thinking, okay, one of the dolls just turns its head like this, one of it raises. So I'm like, get the hell out of here, dude. I'm about to throw you off the stage. You're going to haunt the stage and get out of here with that shit. That's all possession stuff. I'll just, that's why I bring in the pros with possession. I'm not good at that.
But those people encourage it, man. That's the bad part.
Well, They're not just experiencing it. Here's something that we're supposed to cover tonight was channeling. Mm-hmm. So what about mediums who allow themselves to channel spirits to come into their bodies, whether it be through remote writing, whether it be through, vocal communication? It is technically a form of possession.
Yeah, I've always thought it was.
I'm working with the group of 3 of us from Canada, but 2 of them are from the UK, but London immigrants in Canada. And one of them was going to do exactly what you said, to channel to get some information about something. And I could tell she was really nervous. And I said, well, what do you do when you normally do this? And she says, well, I've only done it twice and I've never done it purposefully. And I said, well, then why are you going to do it? I said, obviously you're able to communicate. You don't even need to be in a trance. So why are you doing this? So I talked her out of it because I don't think, to me, I agree with you. I think it's a possession. And I've met some people when you don't know what you're doing or you don't have people around you, there's a good chance you might not be able to get quite all of it back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to have people.
You should never do it alone, for sure.
No,
and how do you know for sure you're getting what it is you think you're getting?
Exactly.
You're making an invitation. You're allowing something to come in. Some things are master mimics.
Yes.
Others, you do have benign spirits that do it. I mean, some mediums can go into automatic writing, you know, and will even like step back from that, and they're very careful. So I don't know.
I do automatic writing, but I don't let anything take over me. I just clear my mind.
Amelia's done it, and she lost time. So
yeah, I believe
you
that.
have to be really careful.
So right, and that's what I love about you, Michelle, is because you're not arrogant about this. But what I find, I've met so many people that believe, and they've been doing it for a long time, that they can tell, they know the difference, and they don't. Always. You know what? Something that's older than time, that's been around. We're one tiny little puny human, and I love what you said. Master mimics. So we don't know everything, and you know what? I think you just take a huge gamble when you do it.
It's a chance that you take for sure. What do you guys think?
It is really. I don't know. I've known some people who've channeled over the years. I'm not a big fan of channeling because I do consider it a form of possession. I mean, you're channeling something, so whatever it is has to come through you. Matter of fact, who is it we have? Oh, what's his name? Oh, I can't think his name. He's been on network a few times now. I've heard him channel Jesus. He's channeled my favorite guy, Tesla. The weird thing about he's channeling Tesla, he did know some shit that only Tesla would have known. He actually knew stuff about electronics. I knew this guy had no idea about that. But the fact that he was trying, see, I'll tell you one of the things that bothers me about channeling right on. So you're channeling Tesla. That means there's no reincarnation because he hasn't come back, and two, he's still close enough for you to reach him.
It doesn't mean he hasn't come back.
I'm thinking,
maybe it wasn't him altogether. There are people out there who have checked in on some of these spirits, and they know exactly where they are. And, being one of those people who've checked in on spirits on average, I can tell you that there are people out there who've claimed to communicate with certain spirits, and it would just not be possible. Just saying.
We've run into situations where there was one spirit in several places. So there's also that, But,
there is, yeah.
But who says that, Tesla already came back, and who said that reincarnation has any kind of time frame?
Okay, so what happened with me, I agree with you. And what happened with this group, they were, this is an acquaintance of mine, and she said Spirit had told her to connect with me. And I said, why me? And I realized why, because I get the woo-woo name light worker, but I've had experience with the dark. They haven't. So they're claiming this is an actor that's passed away. I am not convinced in any way, shape, or form by the way the spirit is acting, what kind of information they're able to give, and even what they're claiming, where they're located. I don't believe they're in purgatory. I'm sorry, I did.
But spirits can split. The soul can split.
I agree.
So you have to bear that in mind also.
Yeah, but when they tell you, Michelle, well, it's too long to talk about, but things that I believe, if you are meant and you're in a higher vibrational space, and especially if you claim to be human once, you understand the concept of time. Plus, you would respect when somebody says to you, no, I need some time, and they literally are incessantly harassing you, not letting you sleep, not able to give you some insight.
A good spirit would not do that.
That's what I'm saying. I am not convinced this is who, and that's why I talked her out of trance channeling, because but they don't have any experience with anything like that. Right? It's all light and love and beautiful things, and so,
not really.
No, it's not. But this is what I think a lot of people in the light worker field are like. Right? They don't think anything evil is out there, anything can touch. And I met so many people like this. So I'm not
Mm.
convinced this is something good.
Yeah, I worry about my new age friends sometimes, like Kathy and a couple other friends I have that are very new agey. I worry about them sometimes because channeling can get your ass in trouble. You
Abs-
never, just never know what you trying to connect to, and you never know what's just waiting on the other side for a chance to peek into this realm or to pop into this realm for that matter.
or leave, even though they say they're leaving. How do you know they've really
Well,
left?
that could be a walk-in. They could just take your ass over, and that's their life from now on. And you're locked back in your head somewhere, screaming like a maniac.
Like
It's
Casey
more.
did it all the time.
It, I mean, it's more personal than inviting you in someone in your bed,
Yeah.
like some stranger. Come on my bed.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
it's more personal. I mean, so it's not healthy. Like you said, it's not healthy.
Mm-mm. Like I said, I talked her out of it because I could tell, I could sense the apprehension, and I'm so glad I asked the questions that I did. And then when I told them, I don't believe this is who you think this is, and it's not me doubting your ability, it's what you're getting and the actions of what you're connecting with. To me, is not something positive.
Somebody's just jamming her signal. She
Mhm,
thinks she's getting something else that she's not getting.
mhm.
Deception,
This has
I
been
mean-
going on for thousands of years, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you had the oracles, you had, shaman that go back, tribal healers, and this isn't something new. I think, people are more familiar with the age of spiritualism with the Victorians because it became such a huge deal,
Exactly.
and table tipping and things like that, and seances, and I mean, let's face it, people are still infatuated with it even now.
Mhm.
And you never know what you're getting. Some of the biggest names ever, Abraham Lincoln's wife Mary used to go to Lilydale all the time. Look at Sarah Winchester, like, always consulting with spirits.
Yeah.
Who was she really consulting with? She went mad. Look at this place she built.
I know.
Michelle, you better get down out that damn window.
I wouldn't need that kind of assistance. Just saying.
Oh, I was looking at this because somebody is mild demonic possession,
Right.
medium demonic possession,
I
severe
saw
demonic
somebody
possession.
levitate on my phone, and like I said, this was right in the beginning when I was kind of figuring this all out. It was 4:00 in the morning. Somebody I knew that Michelle, I won't say on air who it is. I ended up calling them because it was 4:00 in the morning my time. So they did witness what I witnessed. Because I was thinking, oh my God, like, what am I going to do with this? Like in the beginning, right?
I don't know. It's just good times for sure.
Oh,
Hmm.
not good at all. Well, now that's why you got to educate yourself. But that's why when I look back at our paranormal experience, I'm not angry about it. I say I always wouldn't even wish it on a blade of grass. But I think it's the path I'm in now, plus the experiences I've had. You got to see both sides. And I think that's so important when we work in this field and be able to respect both sides. When you're only dealing with the light and the love and everything, that's a beautiful thing. But when you come into something like this, that they didn't have the wherewithal to understand that what you're connecting with is not presenting as something as a being in the light or, positive energy, regardless of what you're feeling. Look at their actions, what they're saying.
People are too eager, to trust. People would go, again, going back to the Victorian age, because it was huge money, and the grieving were always the ones. I mean, you had the curiosity seekers, but the grieving used to go to these mediums to get information, and they'd be led, and they had all the parlor tricks, and it works the same today. People wanting so desperately to communicate with loved ones, and now you have all these gadgets that you can do. You have television and the internet that teach you how to do it, and people go in and start communicating with who they think is their loved ones. Then they start getting all these signs that don't make any sense, but yet they're being told things that it's like, well, yeah, that's something that my family member would know. It's like Ouija boards, or spirit boards, getting in there. I don't think people realize that you can actually, when you communicate with something, let's just say, I imagine human spirits can more than read your thoughts, but there are things out there who are really good at it, and they'll tell you everything you want to know, because people will ask a question on the board and they don't know to clear their mind. So therefore they're getting all those answers. So I think it comes back to the mindset. And does that mindset turn everything that's subconscious into some kind of a gateway that brings things in? Like it's a real fine line whether you're going to get something benign or whether you're going to get something that you really need to be
I
careful.
have to say this to be fair about her. She's extremely gifted, been very, very accurate, and I believe what she's getting, but it was not having the experience with something negative.
I've worked with some exceptionally seasoned mediums who have, it only takes one time to,
One
I
slip
don't
up.
know, it's one sliver in. It's all it takes is one little back way in. It doesn't matter how seasoned you are. Some of the best have still ended up with problems. Just look at the movie The Right for one example, which was done very, very well, very probably truer to the story than a lot of movies are. I mean, this guy had done 2,000 exorcisms, and in the end, bam. It doesn't matter how good you are. Doesn't matter how long you've been in
want
it.
to put that out there, though, because
of course, yeah, we don't want to be bashing anybody. But
According to the Catholic Church and the website we want,
sound like she wasn't experienced.
no, we don't want to do that. All I'm saying is,
and I knew you knew that, but I wanted to say it.
Sorry, Joe.
no, it's okay. They were saying that only a saint can get rid of a high possession. No human can do it. It either has to be a priest that's a saintly status, or that's it. Nobody else can get rid of it. So if you can't find one, then you're stuck with whatever that possession is.
Well, I've worked with many religious backgrounds, and I've worked with ministers of different denominations, and I've seen them clear houses, no problem. I've seen them, remove demonic entities. Now, possession, maybe. We spoke about someone speaking in tongues. I had a woman, we waited because of the family. I work with religious backgrounds. They waited a year for this woman. This team traveled all over the world from this Christian church out of North Carolina. It was a minister, a friend of mine, who set it up. And she came in, started speaking in tongues. I never heard of it. I've never heard that in my life. It really did sound like gibberish. Nobody there was translating for me. For all I know, she could have been reciting her grocery list. I have no clue, But in the end, there were 2 places that were affected. She only stepped foot in one of them. Within 2 hours, both places were completely clear. And I mean, one never reactivated again, and the main location reactivated 2 years later, just slightly, and I was able to pop it out. So I don't know, is it just the Catholics, or are we dealing with the mindset again?
Well, it probably has a lot to do with mindset, but the Christians in general, but the Catholics believe that there's 7 forms of possession, from a low thing to just something that may irritate you, makes you say stupid shit, to something that takes over your complete body, your clean mind, complete thought, and does whatever it wants. Yeah. Plus, it has unearthly abilities. They said only a saint can get rid of them; nobody else can. They said there's no other way to get with them because they're actually a demon possession, is what they consider.
Michelle and I have talked about people too that keep getting reactivations and why. And I think that sometimes, like this one case that I had worked on that I've been talking about, I think whether it was subconsciously and even it was a little bit obvious. I think they were enjoying the attention that they were getting from the paranormal community. I don't think really deep down, and I can't say for sure, I didn't live inside their head, nor would I want to, but I don't think they really wanted to get rid of it, or people that keep dabbling in things that they shouldn't be dabbling in. And I know we've talked about that, Michelle, right? Like people contact you and keep needing help. And
well, I mean, you do get your repeat offenders, but I think because, what I do often is I work with the mindset. Again, I try to change all of that because there are a lot of people who also project a lot of energy.
Right.
And it's all them, basically. There's nothing there, but they can invite things in. There are people who they just want a lot of attention. I can't imagine why somebody would want that kind of attention repeatedly. But, sometimes when things amp up, I find too, because, we are able to go in and remove things. They stop doing the work to help themselves because they're like, oh, I'll just call CMH. We'll get it all rectified. And every single time somebody toots the wrong way, it's like, there's something in the house. Can you just check it out and clear it? And it's gotten to a point where I've had to message people back and say, no, I have assisted you with the tools to be able to get your mind straight, raise your vibrations, make your atmosphere, really positive. Dark things don't live in really positive light places. There's nothing to feed off of. And that I've seen people completely turn around just by working with frequencies and changing that.
I agree.
But when you go looking for things, like I say, like channeling, you're going to start channeling or bringing things into your doing some sort of spirit communication of that sort. I would say, you have to be careful. It is a form of possession. I have been on locations with people who didn't even know, with mediums who didn't even know something had stepped in. All of a sudden they stop dead and they're looking around. They don't even know where they are. You've got to intervene. So I don't know. I think it's a dangerous play personally. And there may be some people who are like really good at it, or she doesn't know what she's talking about. It's not for me. Let's put it that way.
Not for me.
Try this at home, kids. Just saying.
Not for me either.
It's weird because I was reading about this a couple of months ago about different levels of possession and what the church will do and what they won't do. I was actually looking it up for a friend of mine. And I actually called somebody who knew, and he told me the same thing. He's way up in the church. He's like, Joe, look, the first 3 levels of possession, he said, they can get rid of their self. Just with a little work, they can get rid of it themselves. He said 4, 5, and 6 either takes a very seasoned psychic medium, his words, or a really good priest. He said, but either one can do it if their body and mind is in sync, so nothing can enter it. He said they can get rid of it for you. He said, but they have to be solid in what they believe. He said they don't have to believe in God or the church, but they have to be solid in what they believe in so that it cannot enter them. He said that's where people get in, through the little cracks and flaws in our personality and who and what we think we are. He said he was laughing. He said, like you said, they didn't even try to possess you. He said you're such an egomaniac, it would drive them crazy. He said, but other people don't have that kind of oomph, and it leaves her cracks again. He said that's why we warn psychics. He said he's way up in the church. He believes in psychics. He said he's met several over the years. And he said a lot of them are very good. And he said some people have very good gifts to get rid of these things. He said other people think they do and end up becoming possessed themselves, or worse. He said, and then there's a last form of possession. He said the only thing that can really get rid of them is if you have a sainted object or someone who is so far up in the church that they may become a saint. He said there comes a point where the demon itself is so high ranked that a normal person cannot get him out of here. So it's not like your normal demon. Somebody would be like, the devil's number 2 or number 3. So it's not something that an earthly body can get rid of because we simply don't possess that kind of power yet. But he said everything else, though, can be handled quite easily. And he said, and I'll let you go. He said on the number 7, he said that's like 1 in every 100,000. He said it's a very, very rare thing. He said even when you see them people climbing walls, he said a lot of times that's only 5 or 6. He said 7. He said when you see a 7, there will be no doubt what you just stumbled your ass into. And he said most people just go the other way immediately. Go ahead, Laura Lee.
Sorry, I had to chat on because I was just going to share this and then tell you I agree with you and why. Jacob Waters in the chat says my Ouija board dabbling has got me in some trouble in the past. So that's somebody speaking from experience. I agree with you, and the reason why I do is because that previous home we were in, and it was a full-time job for me in the beginning, 12, 18 hours a day, just talking to people, trying to learn, trying to figure out what. Michelle, I agree with you about the energy, because once we raised the vibration and understood about energy, we didn't have the physical attacks anymore. They weren't able to. But what it was nothing could seem to get rid of this. And then it gave me its name. It gave me its animal form. I wasn't actively looking, but we have libraries, right? With angels, fallen angels, whatever. And then I found it 10 years later, everything it had told me. Now, again, I don't know. I'm not saying I believe or disbelieve, but the information that I found on quite a few pages about this was so old that it was one of the first 40 created. That's what the information said about this. I'd never heard it, being raised Catholic, going to Catholic school. I'd never heard this name before, ever. It wasn't one of the most popular, but nobody seemed to be able to get rid of it. Now, Michelle, I didn't know you then. Who knows? Maybe you could have. But
you know what? We've gotten things where we've had things say, I walked behind Christ when he carried the cross. And I'm like, yeah, okay, good, whatever. Now you're going to stop walking. Out we go, And we've had, like I said, people have sent me things like big, old, growly things in Aramaic. Just it's unbelievable when you hear that on a voice recording, that deep, grumbling, growly voice, and in Aramaic. It's just like it was the first time I've ever heard anything like that. Again, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. There's a lot of people in the field who have their own techniques, and some people swear by it. Some people are like, oh, we can't do it. One thing is for certain: anybody who tells you it's like a one-shot deal, I think they would be wrong. Even exorcists, on an average, usually have to do it more than once.
Agreed.
Well, it's funny because when I was talking about this with him, he said there is another form of possession that people a lot of times get confused with. He said it has nothing to do with demons; it has just to do with assholes. He said some humans can easily take over someone and have them do stuff. He said people with high telepathic abilities or really good psychics can possess someone. He said it's still a physical form of possession. He said they can just put themselves. It's almost like being a walker. He said they just put themselves in their body, even though they're still controlling theirs. They can control theirs as well. I have personally seen that myself. Kind of experienced it once or twice, but it's one of the things when we teach dream weaving. We show people how you can take over someone's mind and their abilities while they're asleep.
Joe, we have a question, and then Amelia added something. Can I share that with you? Because Forgotten Shadow says, do you think demon... Oh, yeah, you highlighted it. Great. Don't you need to read it for you?
Yes, absolutely.
You can always read it.
Absolutely.
Oh, read it? Okay. It says, this is Forgotten Shadows. Do you think demons ever lower their tone of voice just to F with us?
Of course.
I'm sure they do. I have no doubt about that.
Anything that induces fear.
They can do anything. Absolutely.
It's one of them things that I have no doubt about a lot of that stuff. It's weird how some of this stuff happens and people, and if you let your guard down or you're weak, a lot of people have ego problems. And they're not sure of their self or they want to rely on something else or a lot of this crowd in this group is really well sure who they were, but we're all a little older too, so we've been through a lot of shit, so we're more sure about who we are and what we are. But even when I was young, I had a pretty strong ego. I didn't believe in letting anything get in my head or things like that. Matter of fact, to be honest with you, you can ask Jason and some other people from one of the original psychic groups about this. When people pissed me off, I had a tendency to give them, let's just say, really horrible dreams for a long time. Sometimes it manifests itself in other things, but usually, because Jason called me up one night, him and his girlfriend called me up with this weird thing, and they're having the same dreams, and they're having these horrific nightmares. And this guy kept laughing at him, said he was the one doing it. I said, well, who is he? I said, just introduce me to him. And he introduced me. I said, you're giving my friends horrible dreams. I said, I'm going to tell you what, dude. I said, from now, for the next 30 days, you will not sleep at all. I said, you'll have to have drugs to knock you out. And when you wake up in the morning, you will feel horrible. You will hate everyone you know, and you will cuss. After 15 days, this guy called me. He was offering me money to take it off him. I said, I didn't do anything, dude. I said, I just dropped a suggestion in your head. You did it to yourself. I said, work it out. And he's like, I said, you were so suggestive with them that you made it easy for me. And people are stupid like that. Sometimes they fall for easy tricks. And sometimes they're tricks and sometimes they're not. But I stumbled across dreamweaving at a young age by accident. I just sheer by accident. I got to be honest. That and controlling your dreams, I stumbled by that by accident. All because I was having nightmares when I was 6 or 7. I started rerunning episodes of Star Trek in my head. And then I realized that I could change the episode into what I wanted it to be. I said I could actually control the dream. Then I realized a friend of mine, she used to come stay home and babysit. I woke up one morning, I was 10, okay? She must have been dreaming about her boyfriend. And I woke up and I said, who is, and I blurted out his name and she turned red as Michelle's hair, man. She was like, and she's like, was I talking in my sleep? I said, no, and I didn't realize it. And then after that, anytime somebody I was close to that I spent time with, I realized I could get in their head really, really, really easy. And then when I married Linda, we'd wake up sharing dreams in the morning. I'd say, will you dream about a dragon? And I said, I'm going to write the color down and what it looked like. You tell me if I'm right. She'd write it down herself in her head and we'd dream about the same damn thing. And at first we didn't know which one of us was dreaming though. Because sometimes one's the one dreaming and one's the one viewing, and sometimes it's the other way around. So you had to figure it out. And then I realized that not only could I get in people's dreams, but I could change them. I could go in doors I wasn't supposed to go into. I could add into their dreams. Yeah, I used to piss off a lot of people I know. I don't do it as much as I used to, but every now and then I'll get the urge to do it just for
What
shit.
though? I think humility, yeah, we learn that as we mature. But that's what I said to Michelle. Why I really respect her. Never mind all the experience and the knowledge. There is no shred of ego about you. And I
Thank
think we
you.
have a real understanding of human beings.
Who are you talking about?
I know,
You don't know
yeah,
Michelle the way I know her, apparently.
I find she really does. And
Thank you.
I think that's really important in this line of work, because I think every time we start, I'm not trying to make you turn red, Michelle, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
But once we
Mm.
start to get ego about this, or think we know it all, I don't know about you guys, but it always seems Spirit just has to find a way to just give you a little back
I
down.
think everyone has a little bit of ego, if anything. But
We all do.
I think, I think it's just, you just have to prioritize what you're doing. It has to be about the people,
I'm going to
not
show you
about
my
the
ego
evidence.
meter that allows for hosts to get on this network. So I really
What?
do. I've got an ego
That's what he
meter.
says. We all have egos.
I got an ego meter, and you have to score at least a 7 to be on the network. Because if you don't have an ego, you're not going to be a good talk show host. You got to be sure about who and what you are. And people get confused with ego a lot of times, because a lot of times they think it's a bad thing.
It's
No,
not.
knowing who
gotta
and
make
what
friends.
you are is important in life. You need to know your own abilities. You need to know what your limitations are. You need to know what you're about, who you're about, what you can control, what you can do in your life. And knowing your limitations is a good thing. It keeps you mostly out of trouble.
And be willing to admit when you're wrong, and
Yes.
also that we don't know everything. Like I
That's a
actually,
hard one.
I've heard Michelle say, and you too, Joe, many of us, that we'll be learning for the rest of our life. We learn something new every day.
Yeah, you
Every
will.
single day you have to.
And you don't really
You
have a
have to.
choice. I mean, life is always going to be full of lessons. And anybody who thinks they've learned everything might as well just kick over right there, because you haven't. There's just a lot of shit to know in life, and there's a lot of stuff going on all the time. And just because somebody says, well, like when people tell me, oh, I must have done something bad because all this shit's happened to me, that might be true, but more than likely, it's just probably because of bad choices in this life. Michael knows that for sure, so he can't stay away from evil redheads.
Quiet.
It's someone, it's like Jason. I always tell my good friend Jason, I said, Jason, stay away from redheads. They're going to tear your heart out of your chest. Some of them are just
Light
evil.
workers, and from light workers.
Oh, he can't help that. He loves New Ages. I don't know what that is. That boy just loves New Ages. But that everybody's got their particular thing in life that they like. It is a strange thing how things play out in different
Amelia
realms.
wants Michael to know he's too quiet. Is he okay?
Just sitting here, listening.
He's thinking about evil redheads. That's why he's being so quiet.
No, the last demon was a blonde, so
that's worse.
redheads aren't so bad.
Ooh, yeah, evil blondes are far worse than redheads are. Jesus.
A redhead, you know you're getting.
Yeah, it's going to be trouble from day one.
Do you now? Do you really?
I mean,
Do you really know?
Yes, it's going to be a handful when you marry any redhead. Is going to be a handful. You just know that going in. Blondes are deceptive. They want to all be like, "Oh, I'm so sweet and nice," and it's like,
That's right. There you go.
Dye your hair.
There you go.
If you grab a rattlesnake, you know what you're going to get.
That's true.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
It's
We
we've got a
got
few
the
minutes.
time.
We got a few minutes. What's their names are off? I wish they would have told me they were off tonight.
Okay.
So we're going to probably run over about 10 minutes.
Yay.
But, real quick, a couple of things.
But we have more time.
Well, I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day. He's big into astro travel, and I always screw with him about this, okay? I mean, I don't have a problem with people thinking they leave their body or they leave their body, but astro travel is a thing for me because humans are very, how can I say this nicely, not well educated, okay? And I don't mean that, I'm not talking about your physical education, but if there's levels of different aliens or different beings in the universe, we're probably way at the bottom of the list.
I agree.
Okay, so saying that you're going to be up here with these, you're not even going to understand what you're seeing, much less what's going on. I mean, it's just going to be too far above us. That's why when people say they have a contact or experience, a lot of times it's way above where they are. So there's no way to really put that into words today. So you wouldn't even be there because you're not going to understand it.
But some people do it naturally.
Some people do, but
some people have to take a course. Some don't.
I think there's just layers there's caps might be a better word.
Right.
I think because of the body we're in and the brain we're in, there's a cap to how far up the level you can go. Now, what that is, I have no idea whether it's 1, 2, 3, 8, or 10. It could be any damn thing. But there's going to come a point where you're simply not going to understand what you're seeing or hearing. It's going to be beyond us because we simply haven't evolved that far up the chain.
Well, what about indigo children and people who become indigos from childhood?
Well, see, to me, indigo and star children, all of them are the same thing. They're just cross DNA. To me, it's all the same thing because we deal with a lot of different ones. And to me, it's just a word across three different words. But it's different for everybody. But it's for us, it's kind of like that because something we found out in the late 90s and 2000 study that was going on. The government did this. So the government found out there was a segment of children, about 14%, that seemed to be leaving their peers behind, way behind. And everybody was like, so we started an investigation because a couple of the kids we knew the parents that was involved in the study. They were contactees. There were no doubt about it. And so the more we could find out, the more people we had found that had been contacted that were in this subgroup. And it looked like that's why, because those children were probably given gifts. They're probably very telepathic, very empathic. And it's easier to be smarter. Don't take this the wrong way, ladies and gentlemen. But if you're empathic and telepathic, it's easy to be smarter because you're absorbing more energy. You're not just taking it in through your ears and your eyes, but you're taking it in through your other forms. It's just 2 more senses. So you're taking it, instead of having 5, you have 7 senses now. So you have 2 additional senses that are allowing you to take in a lot more information. And a lot of times you're learning how to control your own emotions plus other people's emotions because empaths have it rough. If you don't know you're an empath, your life is shit a lot of times.
You know how I found out, Joe? I was in third year university, and I don't get angry very often, but something really annoyed me. And I walked into the classroom, and the professor stopped the class and said to me, "Do you realize, Laura Lee, that if you're in a really good mood, it affects the whole classroom. But when you're in the mood that you're in now, it also affects the whole classroom." I've never heard anything like that. I was shocked, but you are absolutely right.
Yes, empaths, unfortunately, it's a curse or a gift, just the way you want to look at it. They can affect rooms. They can be affected. You can watch them walk in the room, start crying or start laughing when there's nothing wrong with them at all. They can be just the reverse. They can walk in the room and everybody feels the same emotion. But telepaths can walk in the room and sense what everybody's thinking. So it's a little different for them. They can pick up on stuff, but they can also pick up on information. It's like having an eidetic memory. So for them, when they sense it through telepathy, it's in their head for life. It's there. It's going to be parked somewhere, put in a bag. But the problem is, it's like everything else. The older you get, the more information you obtain. The further back it goes in your head. It's like writing in a book. You start at the front of the book, you're at the end of the book. So you got to go all the way back to the front to find that information. What's the same for humans? It just stacks and layers because it's all over electronic signals. So it's been layered in your head, layered in your head, layered in your head, layered in your head. That's why we tend to forget stuff from our youth. We didn't actually forget it. If somebody says a keyword, it'll pop back into your head. But it is just pushed down and out of the way because you're actually stacking more important things on top of it, or more memories on top of it, or more family, or whatever it is that's running your life at the time. And forgotten, I agree with you, but they can always kick your ass back down because they're way more advanced than we are. That's a problem with messing with souls that are 5, 6, 8, 10 levels with us. If they don't want you to be there, your ass is going back down where you came from. Because there's no way to stop it. You're just not going to have that ability. They're going to be way beyond us. And eventually, we're going to get there. And some humans are more advanced than others. And that's the shit part to all of this. Some souls are definitely younger souls than others. Some souls are definitely older souls. And you can tell by the way they assimilate information and the way they deal with life. You can watch young kids in a room, and some will be way more mature for their age, not because of the way they were raised, because it's just part of their DNA, or their spiritual side, whatever factor we want to count into this, because we got that 4,000 pieces of junk DNA nobody knows what's for. So whatever it is that's keeping us there, you can see the difference. I've watched classrooms with 8, 9-year-old kids. One kid will just take over. He's the boss. This kid's like he's 30 years old or something walking around out there. And watching through life, he's like selling life. Things seem to come to him easy. Even if his IQ is only in the 120, 130 range, it's like he's in a 90, he could be 100. It's just like his life's going through. He's smooth. He's got his shit together. He just keeps going. Doesn't seem to have any of the problems that other people do. So that's somebody that's, probably been here a few times, a couple hundred times. And the thing about that is we talked about this the other night. So when you get into reincarnation, which gets really hairy and sticky, we've been around for, we're going to say for the sake of argument, 10,000 years. So how many times can a human live in 10,000 years? Even if it's just once every 100 years, how many times have you just lived? That's a lot of time, man. That's a lot of experience in your brain. So I don't think you can live that much. I think there must be another place to go after this, because if not, you're going to be like standing on a herd going, oh, Jesus, I got to do this again, please, man.
Well, I mean, reincarnation happens if you haven't found your balancing point and could go on. You know, you got to come. Soul isn't necessarily a good thing. As somebody who's been here a lot, you know, a young soul, someone who kind of just got here. But you know, it's kind of like we're all individuals and we're all in junior high together, and we're all learning for ourselves. And that's what the enlightenment happens for each of us. That's why no preacher can tell you what enlightenment is, because it's different for everybody. It's your perception, it's your body, your soul. So just like Buddha, you know, there is no teachings. If you're, and he even said, oh, you're the individual, nobody can teach you that well. There you go. You know, we all have our own interpretation of events in life. Even if you read the Bible, all four of us will have a different interpretation of what is written.
Me and Mr. Buddha got issues with, I don't want to come back as a butterfly. I don't want to come back as a cat. I don't want to come back as a snail. Under that, then you would never get back. If you have to start in the bug world and work your way up, you'd never get back to being a human. Some animals live 230 years. A damn turtle, sea turtle. You want to be a sea turtle? You want to be a redwood tree that lives 1,000 years? I know.
Have you ever looked at the fact that maybe you have a choice about
I don't think it's right.
As or when or if or how or what or.
Well, I think that reincarnation happens within humans. You know what I mean? It
probably does. And I would imagine every world in this universe is a different step. So this one's wherever you can probably only go so far on Earth. As we evolve, you can go further, but you're probably stuck. Now, if you've shown that you've passed this, and they'll probably let you go into a different world and move on up the ladder, because there's going to be worlds out there that are so much more advanced than we are. Just taking, if we met a race only 500 years more advanced than us, we wouldn't even know what to say to them. I mean, if you go back to the Aborigines and you look at the white man today, they're like, what? What's a what? What? A cell phone? What? No, none of that shit makes any sense to them. If you go back just 500 years in our past, you'd be hung or shot or killed as a witch, because no one would understand anything that we're talking about. So there's levels. You can only go as far as you can understand. That's the problem with all of this is. Your understanding is your key to evolution. It's also your key to traveling up any kind of, if you're going to cross over into anything else, you're only going to go as far as you understand, because there's going to come a point where you just don't know what you're looking at, or you see.
You'd mess up their culture if you brought something else from another environment into it, you know, and then that could mess up their whole evolvement.
I'm a firm believer in the cosmic consciousness, because I pull information out of my ass all the time. It drives people crazy.
Really?
Oh yeah,
out of your
magic.
ass.
Oh yeah, it's a magic trick. I have to show it to you one day.
They got a pad for that. Preparation H.
No, but
you sit on one of those donuts.
No, really, because it's a weird thing for me. It's a weird thing for a lot of people I know. You know, it's just sometimes, you know, I know a lot of stuff that's well beyond, and I have a really good education. I got a bachelor's in science. It's not like I'm educated, but it's a lot of times I have knowledge far beyond my own education, but it's not something that I would consider unearthly or beyond humans. Now, if we were talking about reptilians or crazy or aliens, yeah, it might be something lower than them, but higher than us.
Well,
so,
let's talk about the benefit of mankind. Buddha left his wife and child, took off to torture himself, basically. Meanwhile, he was set to take over the kingdom, and that kingdom ruled 174 other kingdoms. Don't you think as a ruler of a kingdom, you can ease people's suffering, you can ease people's pain, you can run it differently, you know what I mean, instead of go out. So, I mean, in every civilization, you're going to have, you know, things that can benefit people. You're going to have things that people that don't want people benefit. They want you to suffer. They want you to be in pain, because that's control. It's power, right? Then they throw you a bone, and then you're like, oh, thank you.
As we're watching going on right now. But, you know, it's not that I don't believe people can go above higher levels than we're currently at. I just think there's a limit to how far you can go.
What's a higher level on this planet? I mean,
I'm not talking about so much of a plan. I'm talking about like if you're asked to travel or something like that, or leaving your body or something.
I think
like
love, kindness, and all that. I got this cool pyramid, and it shows you negative thoughts and positive thoughts. And those positive thoughts is all about being optimistic, you know, loving, kind, optimistic, and all that. And if you stay in that realm, that attains the divine. You know, all the negative stuff keeps you down.
A lot of it does. That's something what Jacob was just saying in the room just now in the chat group. And
but doesn't the Catholic Church preach self-loathing? That you've sinned, you need to hate yourself. You need, I mean, you have religions out there that want you to stay down. They don't want to lift you up.
At least 30 about 40 hosts would be going in hell according to the Christians. Just gotta
Well,
say, man.
well, look at the way the
Yeah.
Catholic Church functions. Look what they're just discovering in Canada now with
Mm-hmm.
the
Oh yeah,
children,
no,
and all that.
we're gonna do a show on that upcoming in the
And
future because
that's a drop in the bucket compared to
It
the rest of
is.
the world.
well, since Linda actually told me about it, and then I talked to Laura Lee and Dell, and then I asked Michelle and Amelia about it, and I've asked a couple other people I know in Canada about it. So and then some other, I'm not going to get into it on this show, but a couple other people from other places around the world have given me similar stories now. So we're going to do a show on this. It's not going to make YouTube, of course, because they just throw it off, but
Mm-hmm.
it'll make all the other parts of the network. And it's going to be a good show. It's going to be hard hitting, but it's not. It's not going to be for everybody, and it's going to be a tough show to talk about because there was a lot of stuff went on. And you see, that's another thing.
I
Those
would
places-
even do that one.
yeah, we'll get you on there because think about it.
That's
Those
near and
places
dear.
those places have to be seriously haunted, unless they're what's his name's out there with the holy water all the time.
Well,
no,
think of
graveyards what
The
other
pain.
We've cleared places like that, just so you know. We've
Think of
cleared
the
places
pain.
like that, and we've noticed the indigenous people have also taken notice of one that we did, and they started their own ceremonies and putting in place protection. Because when you RV'd it again, and we saw, we're like, oh wow, they noticed almost instantly. They all need to be cleared.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of places like that I didn't hear about.
There's
There's a lot of
dark
stuff
shit
going
in
on.
there
Like,
that keeps spirits trapped. Sorry, Joe.
that's okay.
I'm a little passionate.
you don't let Catholics in your house, man. Anybody who's part of some kind of maniacal religion, I mean, all of them, there's not one that's good. They're all man-made. And then if it is truly us, that's our experience. Taoism is not a religion. People tried to make it a religion. It didn't work. And you know why? Because Lao Tzu preached individuality, and he was keeper of the archives, and he went on his path and did his thing. But the cool thing is, it's about how to be, that respect for yourself, and understanding the ancient masters. That's what's cool of that. They all have the same story. They just differ a little bit, but they all have the same story of their beginning. No matter who, India or and Indians or whatever, man. No matter who. That's why it's going to be good. In 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I will be in New Mexico, and I am going to do a live show from Route 491, which is where they see skinwalkers, and that's between a place called Shiprock down to Gallup. And I want to see what I get, man. I'm going to take that road 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning through Navajo territory, and this is where people see it. And I'm going to not just drive; I'm going to think it. You know what I mean? How you can think stuff up, like you draw the energy in and you pull it towards you, man.
We'll have to have you on camera so we know you're not a skinwalker talking to us. Right?
I'm going to have it mounted in my windshield. I'm going to have it mounted.
I'm just saying, man. I'll be going, skinwalker, turn his ass off.
Well, I mean, if they can run 60 miles an hour and that type of thing, I hear all kinds of stories. But mainly, I shared a blog with people, a Native American blog, and then there was story after story of people who live there who are indigenous that tell, hey, my grandfather had a skinwalker run up at him. My father, I did. So it's multiple stories over years. But why that road? Why right there? I mean, there's volcanoes there.
Might be where the portal's at, baby. Might be where they come
It's
through.
right in my mind.
Shiprock
Portal.
Shiprock is a plug that goes down 30-something miles into the ground. It was a volcanic plug. So I mean, at one time that was where the lava was coming out. So that's something right there. But it's the ant people that, if you look at Caco Canyon and you look at that structure they built, it looks like the Millennium Falcon. It looks like something designed for something to land on top of it. Just take a look at it.
On one of the shows the other night. We had the pictures up while we were talking.
But this is what they built after the ant people has saved them. And then they all had a song in their head. It wasn't just a Hopi. It was other people too. They all went to this one place. The ant people saved them and then brought them back into this world, the fourth world. So that's,
Yes.
So Caco Canyon is not even an hour's drive from Shiprock. It's all. What the amazing thing is, all these famous stories are in one area.
It is kind of crazy how that stuff adds up. Jacob, I agree with you. By the way, man, one of the things I've been preaching for years is, there's a difference between spirituality and religion. Religion was written for the control of man. Spirituality is here for us to enlighten ourselves. And it's but people don't. A lot of people just don't understand the difference between the two. I got my mouth washed out in Catholic school for that, by the way. I said, no, there's a difference between religion and spirituality, sister. And she said, yes, if you believe in God. I said, well, yeah, no. And then she said, no, there's not. In the mouth, the soap went. And I was like, because I was arguing with her. But, I was probably the first person that actually got kicked out of Catholic school in 5th grade, no less.
Well, what is a god? I mean, it depends on what culture and what and who and what and how many
Hey,
levels and how
I
many
told y'all
gods.
what God is. God spelled backwards is what?
God.
Dog. So everybody's got a God living in their house. I
It
got one. I'm gonna have
poops
two
on your
pretty
floor
soon.
and
Well,
barks
think
at
about
people
it. No.
outside.
This tells you something. What is the DOG? Brings you love, brings you happiness. You let your dog do, especially them damn chihuahuas, man. You let them do whatever the hell they want.
I
It's like they rule the world. I watch over the Big Shepherd. He rules the world. I mean, look, people get mad at me for this all the time. I can't tell how many religious people write into me like, God is not a dog. I said, well, God invented a dog. So what's the difference? I said, but why is God spelled backwards dog? I said, did not anyone think about this when he came up with this damn word? I mean, come on, all I can tell you is the religious zealots were very short-sighted in this. They gave people like me ammunition where they didn't need to have it at all.
Because their brain, look at that Joel Osteen, whatever, they give that guy money, man. People are stupid. They're just stupid. Not everybody, but yeah,
Well, it's like
people
when we were
are
talking
plain
about the
stupid.
Bakers earlier. Oh my God, who would
Yeah.
give Jim Baker and Tammy Faye money?
Remember
I mean,
Tammy
as soon
Faye's
as you
face?
look at them, you
Do
know
you
they
remember the
corrupt.
makeup? And like they
Oh
were
my
like
God.
white trash on another dimension.
Yeah. I
But
think that's where they
people
invented
loved it.
spray on makeup. It was for
They
her.
loved it. They ate it
Oh,
up
they
alive.
did. They loved it, man. They loved getting in that guy and love. Man, he boom, and people would walk and stuff. See, I'm iffy, skiffy, and all that stuff. I know we got to get out of here in a couple minutes, but by the way, in case y'all didn't know, the Syracuses are off tonight. I think they're on vacation, if I remember.
Those
Some of
guys are
the
freaks. Oh, did I say that out loud?
Sarah, Julia, still Syracuse. They're on vacation. Hearts
I
like
feel like they
Concord.
draw stuff in to do the show, man. I don't know. I have a weird, you know what? You get a sense off of people like when they say, "Oh, I don't like this dark stuff," but then the camera's off and they're drawing stuff in. We had a guy, David, who we had to go back to his house. You know, Michelle, it's like what you said. You go back and you go back and you go back and you tell them what they got to do, and then oh man, he had this one woman in D.C. saying, "Give me $7,777," and then this thing Elf came after him, and he was being clawed at from inside of his bed, and he lived in a house that was a morgue to begin with back in slave era. So you already have that energy, and
That would be okay.
the landlord says you're going to see ghosts. He warns people, and nobody ever lives there for any length of time because they become raging alcoholics or drug addicts. You know, they got to leave.
You just
But
have to clear the house.
yeah, but the
It's
funny
not-
thing is,
it's
this
not
dude
hard.
called me one time, and he's like, "I can't sleep," and all this. I'm like,
So-
"Okay, we'll come and take care of it." And his voice was like, "Stay away." Blah, 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 blah.
I got a question. It's kind of a weird one, but still. And Jacob, I'm giving you the golden coin for that. You're entirely right. There's way too much politics in modern day religion. But why is it that every psychic I know lives in a haunted house?
Because some of us are actually okay with it.
No, but I'm not talking about that. I mean, somehow they end up. A good friend of mine, Tuesday Miles and Angela Thomas,
We
which
would
they were
gravitate towards it. I don't know.
maybe so.
I've been given an explanation what I've been told, and just from spirit, is that everybody on the planet or over on the other side, they don't use names, it's energy. So what we look like, the vision, and again, I'm not saying I'm right, just what they showed me all looks like little pinpricks. People that are aware of their abilities are very intuitive. It's almost like a bonfire, those open motel vacancy signs. So they can see it. So can anything else with that energy.
But some people just like it. Everywhere I travel in the world,
Mhm.
I want to stay in a haunted place.
You're
Period.
possessed. You're probably a
I'm
demon,
not
and we just don't know
possessed.
it.
I won't say it's ever
I
happened.
bet you when
but
the camera
most of
goes
the
off,
time,
the demon face comes out.
it's
She's like,
not.
Amelia won't tell us
my
because
point
Amelia's
is
scared.
they know we can see and hear them. So plus, like you said, Michelle, like you don't have any fear. You want to go. It's part of your, you want to learn. You want to know more about.
No,
Especially
I don't mind it. I like the feeling of it. I love going to when I go, especially when I'm in Europe. I mean, everywhere I've traveled, US, wherever, anywhere I travel, but Europe, it's
right?
really old energy. I love mingling with the older spirits. I love getting that information. I love how it feels. Some people dig it. Some people no, I need to get away from that.
Mhm.
It's all haunted. They're everywhere.
Some people get high on that, man. You're not like that.
No,
You're in the
just like
business. So
Yeah.
more like as research, if you stay in a haunted place, you're going to gather more data,
Sure.
But there are people who like I said about that guy before, David, who likes to bring it in, and then when they bring it in over and over and over again, then he can't handle it, right? And he's a great medium. I mean, he can see them and hear them. That full body apparition came from his apartment. The pictures that I have, I mean, that place, he's active. It's not even the place; it's him, and they follow him around. He draws them in.
we got one more question that came from the international group. They wanted to know, what do you think is there? Is there more ghosts or just more? What do you call it? When they just walk around. I'm talking about
Magnetic.
Residual.
yeah, just something that's left
residual.
behind.
Dimensional bleed through.
Replays. Yeah. Well, we're not
bleed
talking
through.
about that. We'll get into that on another show. They just mad because I'm always right. But anyway, we're
So
not.
whatever. Whatever.
But anyway, real question. They wanted to know what would be more like because we've all seen where it just looks like it's a replay. And then we've seen things that are obviously ghosts, but they were asking, what do you think there's more of? Is it 50-50? I don't really know.
I think there'd be more residual.
Gettysburg, I think it would be
personally.
50-50, but
Well, there's a lot. Yeah, it depends where you are. But I mean, let's face it. I'll say residual for this one reason, and then you guys will maybe have your own opinion. Every time, even in modern times, okay, if I walk into a room and yell at somebody and walk out of that room and come back in 2 hours later, I'm going to walk into that energy. That energy needs to be cleared, or it just builds on top of itself. When you have a place that has, let's say, war, like Gettysburg, okay, yes, you'll have your spirits, but you're also going to have intense leftover energy of not only war, right? You're going to have the fears, you're going to have the anxieties, you're going to have the death. When a spirit leaves a body, it leaves a huge imprint. So when you start looking at things like that, spirits are just a small part of all of that. You're looking at a suicide, for example, you have all of those thoughts and depression that doesn't go away because the physical's not there. It just leaves an imprint. Everything we do leaves an imprint. We leave a piece of ourselves everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought.
I know we get ready to get out of here. Go ahead.
And I have to agree with that, because people, I think what they see or what they're exposed to, especially on TV, but I think you're right that it makes such, and even at the law of energy, right? Energy can't be created nor destroyed, but it can be moved from one place to another. And that makes a lot of sense. We thought with this intense emotion, which is some of our most powerful energy, and it's there, it's not cleared, it doesn't move. It starts to build and build and build. So I have to agree with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was playing with lights.
Of course you are.
Anyway, I know we got to get out of here. No, I know we got to get out of here. But everyone, thanks for hanging out. I see we had quite a few questions coming in both chats. Jacob, nice having you in the room tonight, man. There's a lot of weirdness on our planet, and instead of hiding it like all of our media wants to do, I don't understand why big media is so scared of some of this stuff. I mean, when it comes to Halloween and stuff like that, they'll make a lot of fun of it. But anybody who's been alive longer than a couple of years is probably experiencing something weird, unless you're just born and lived in one of them $high towers that's never had anybody die in.
You don't think that these media groups atone to some kind of religion? I mean,
like that. But so I think some of them are so egotistical that they can't get beyond that there might be something else besides them.
I think it's the ownership of the channels. They just don't want it. That's why they don't let people talk about it. Then you have Sean Hannity, who used to be a reverend, who actually has a book out there saying how to decode the Bible so you make millions of dollars. I mean, he's one of those people. And then there he is on Fox News, right? That's why they're all.
But you know what he was doing for a living before he became he was a contractor.
I believe that too.
He was. He was a contractor. He was a painter, actually. And I was like,
I bet he's ripped off a ton of people, man.
I'm thinking, how did you go from? Well, anyway, I shouldn't say nothing, but it's kind of funny for the guy, and I can't listen to him. It's something about his voice. It's not that I dislike him. It's like Rush Limbaugh. I can listen to him for 10, 15 minutes, and if he was on something I wanted to hear, but other than that, I had to turn him off. There's just something about their voices that doesn't carry well with me. It's kind of like Rachel Mad Cow Maddow. I can listen to her for a few minutes, and then I'm kind of like, oh, please, someone turn it off. That's what her wife says anyway. We're not going to go there. We'll save that for another show too. If y'all know who Rachel Maddow is, shame on y'all. She's been doing it forever. We just mentioned three of the biggest hosts that ever existed. Sean Connery, Jesus. Okay, I need a break. Anyway, we got to get out of here because Laura Lee's going to be coming on in about 30 minutes, and we all stayed over a little bit tonight so we could get out.
Isn't Sean Connery dead?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he is actually. And now he could be. My wife says all the time he could haunt her all the day.
Exactly. Right.
Another one.
Exactly right.
Oh, come on, Sean. Come on. You seen him in the last Highlander he did when he came back, and he had the little thing in his ear. I'm like, baby, really? She's like, yeah. like, okay.
Best be wearing a kilt
Oh,
too.
yeah, I think he was in that one actually. But anyway, we're gonna,
Michelle, I don't think I've seen you blush so many times on one
uh,
show.
I know. Must be the kilt.
it's the kill making a flush. Oh yeah. Oh Lord. Anyway, we got to get out of here, guys. Be sure to come check out all of us. We're all going to be on this week, so we got a lot of good shows coming up. Like I said, Laura Lee is on in just a few minutes. Michael's going to be on tomorrow. You'll see Michelle Wednesday and Thursday. We may be doing politics
tomorrow night.
Wednesday because what was that, Laura Lee?
Deli's on tomorrow night too.
Oh yeah,
Delicious.
definitely. I keep forgetting because at work now. See, out of sight, out of mind. Down anyway, we might have to do some politics Wednesday because I don't know if I can wait till Friday. There's so much stuff been going on this week, and it's insane. Anyway, we're not going to talk about this now. We'll talk about it sometime during the week. On that note, we're going to get out of here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to United Public Radio and Paranormal Talk. This show may be moving in 2 weeks, or it may not be. We'll just have to wait.
Threatening? Are you threatening people?
No, I'm not threatening. I'm just trying to warn them ahead of time. And if it does, we'll be back on our flip-flop schedule on Friday night. So which I don't know if I can do the flip-flopping, man. I got to get an X amount of politics a week these days. I got to have my release, especially since my good friend Stephanie's on the other side. She like zaps stuff into my head. Look, talk about this, talk about that.
Start the show again on Saturday, man, and have a guest. Have a guest host come in, right?
That's what I'm going to do. We're gonna channel Stephanie.
Yeah,
I'm not channeling.
We'll get a Rottweiler. We'll get like a psychic Rottweiler and let the Rottweiler.
No, when she was cool.
Stephanie, is that you?
I didn't think about that. We might have to do that. I don't know how that's going to go off, man. That might be good. Or oh shit, that could be horrible. Anyway, it could be really good though too. I mean, she was a great host. Anyway, that's enough about all that. Again, she was a great host. I ain't gonna lie about it. I will give credit where credit is. She was a good station manager most of the time. We got to leave it at that. Anyway, I don't talk bad about dead people. But anyway, again, thanks everybody for tuning in United Public Radio, International Radio, and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We all live in the same home these days. Be sure to come out and check everyone out this week. And remember, don't feel free to make a donation.
Send us your wallet.
Show. That's a good one. If you're interested in the show, I cry at cox.net. Good night, everybody. We'll see y'all soon. Oh, wait.
Bye.